NFL and the A's. It's Sactown Sports 1140. Sactown Sports headlines.
Another one bites the dust. The 49ers will lose yet another player for an extended period of time due to injury. Tackle Colton McKivitz, who has been filling in for All-Pro Trent Williams, has been diagnosed with an MCL sprain and is expected to be out 2 months. McKivitz is the third 49er to be diagnosed with an MCL sprain this season. And some good news, according to head coach Kyle Shanahan, safety Jimmy Ward and cornerback Jason Verrett will return to practice tomorrow for the first time all season. Also in the NFL, the Kenny Pickett era has begun in Pittsburgh. Pickett, who came in for relief for Mitch Trubisky, has been named the starting quarterback as of today for the Steelers. Pickett will kick off his career against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. The A's play tonight against the LA Angels. It's game 161 for the A's. We will have all the action right here on Sactown Sports 1140, beginning at 5:40 with the pregame. Those are your headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. It's 3 o'clock, which means it's time for the boys, the Cattles and Ramie Show. That's next.
It's the new spot for local sports talk in the afternoon. Cattles and Ramie. Cattles and Ramie.
I describe him as the best, obviously.
It's Cattles.
He throws it out there, speaks his mind. That's cool.
It's Ramie.
He's supposed to make people laugh. He's just an expert at it.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
What's happening? Welcome aboard on a Tuesday. Thanks for joining us as always. It is much appreciated. He's Ramie, I'm Cattles, and we have a lot to get to today. Absolutely loaded show, Ramie, after the Niners and the Kings play last night.
Yesterday was the busiest night on the local sports scene.
It's exciting.
Since I've arrived at town.
Yes.
That's how I felt.
Yes.
That's how I felt last night, taking in all the sports.
Lots of excitement. Let's start with the Niners. We will talk plenty about the Kings, but let's start with the Niners, regular season game, Monday Night Football, big-time rival. Great win last night by San Francisco, Ramie. They dominated most of the game. How'd you think Jimmy played?
Jimmy played good. Jimmy had a good game. And I say that, I think we have to put something in place here today on the Cattles and Ramie show. Or at least
hold on, boys. We're putting something in place.
I need to put something in place on the Cattles and Ramie show here today. It's the Garoppolo scale. All right. Because I know what you're gonna say. He wasn't that good. Blah blah blah, and you're gonna point out all the reasons, all the things that weren't good, that he didn't do great. He just did good in the game. But man, Jimmy Garoppolo is who he is. I'm not here to tell you or anybody else that Jimmy Garoppolo is all of a sudden going to be a franchise quarterback in the NFL. I'm saying know what you got in Jimmy Garoppolo and grade him week to week on that curve. Jimmy Garoppolo had a good game for Jimmy Garoppolo. On the Garoppolo scale, I'm going to give him a B plus. Like, it wasn't an A plus game, but it was almost as good as you'll get from him. And as a result, from that offense, when he's your quarterback, because he's not that dude. He's just a guy.
All right, so that's how Ramie feels about Jimmy's performance last night. Let's hear from Jimmy before you hear from me.
Being the quarterback, you got a lot of responsibility. I think whoever has the ball in their hand has the responsibility of the entire organization, at your fingertips, and you just got to be smart with it. I think comes with experience, comes with, putting in the time with the guys and just being on the same page. But yeah, it's just part of the job.
What we saw last night was the perfect illustration of what a successful Jimmy G quarterback team looks like. That's what it was. Like, if you draw up the perfect game or near perfect game for Jimmy, what you should expect, that was last night. He was fine. He was okay. He was good.
Yeah.
He was nothing great.
That's it.
He wasn't very good. I thought he made 2 or 3 very good throws. The best throw of the night didn't even count. I thought that was the Kittle catch at the back line of the end zone.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
That was a terrific throw. That was his best throw of the night. Didn't count. But really, when you talk about Garoppolo, and again, I've been going off of the Jimmy G scale, as you would put it, since the very beginning. People think that I just go out and attack this guy. No, my point has always been he's an average quarterback. So when he plays average, when he plays good, that's what he is. He's going to have terrible games. He's going to have a couple of games where he might flash with some good throws. But what you saw last night is Jimmy G. And he's dependent on yards after the catch because you see a lot of screen passes, a lot of short passes. The Debo touchdown was the perfect example. I mean, I'm going to get it out of my hands and hope for the best. That was a bad throw. It was a bad decision. He's very fortunate it wasn't a pick six. It somehow turned into a touchdown because the Rams.
He said he did that on purpose.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he did.
He said he put it right there.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
He waited.
Yep.
He waited for Debo to drive back on the ball.
Oh, yeah.
And he put it in that spot on purpose to give Debo a chance to go up and
I'm
get
sure
it.
he did.
BSing the people
I'm sure he
in this
did.
country.
Sure. Every single high throw he makes was on purpose. But that's what it's about, right? This offense is predicated in the passing game. It's predicated off of yak. And let's be honest. Last night, when you look at the stats for Jimmy G, I don't know, what was he, 240 in the air? Somewhere?
239.
Okay.
16 of 27 for 239. And
okay.
A TD.
So when you look at the two biggest plays, honestly, those were big plays because of the Rams, not because of the Niners. When you look at the Debo touchdown, 3 guys messed up on that play. Dude went for the pick six. He gambled. He missed. Then you had the safety come down. He completely blew the tackle. And then Jalen Ramsey, I have no idea what Ramsey was doing.
I know what he did. He made a business decision.
He made a business
decision.
Well,
he saw Debo coming, and he was like, I'm going to put away my chain. and not get it took. That's what happened right there.
Well, it's funny because you knew the media was going to ask Debo about it last night.
You know that was Jalen in the open field in front of you?
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing out there. Man. He's just back there. I was like, what's going on?
He was just backing up. What was going on? What was going on? So I would say, and again, being truthful and being honest is not being a hater. It's just giving the truth. It's giving you the reality. Jimmy G, thanks to 2 big plays off of bad defense from the Rams, bad angles, bad tackling, bad gambling, like when you play the Niners, you've got to keep everything in front of you and then go up and tackle. That's it. You got to force them to pick you off 8 to 10 yards at a time. The Rams gave up 2 or 3 big plays on plays that should have went for 10 yards. So Jimmy G, he ends up with 240 and he ends up with the stats he had. But if you watch that game, I don't think anybody walking away from the game goes, oh, Jimmy played great. He played good. And that's who he is as a quarterback. He's good. He's average.
But that's what you need Jimmy Garoppolo to do. And credit to Kyle Shanahan for putting Jimmy in the right pocket in last night's game. Not asking him to do too much, but also not taking the ball out of his hands. He threw the ball 27 times, and they ran the ball 22 times. For me, that's a good bit. It should be somewhere around 50-50 in a game that was played in that with that pace, with that lead. It should be about 50-50 in a game like that.
Give me 60-40, 70-30. I'll feel good about
Jimmy
it.
Garoppolo he's not going to lift up the guys around him and make them better. They need to make him better. He needs to just do exactly what he did last night. Get the ball in the hands of playmakers, predominantly Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, and let them do what they do. And I'm not saying it wasn't bad tackling. I'm not saying it wasn't bad defense. But, man, that's also what Deebo Samuel does.
It was awful defense.
That's what makes that dude yes. is that he's hard to take down.
Yes.
But
it helps if the cornerback doesn't play the football and plays Debo wraps his arms around him.
For sure.
That would have helped the play. I don't look, when we talk about Jimmy G, I actually don't think that you and I are far apart with our evaluation of the player. For some reason, people see me as the big bad wolf when it comes to Jimmy. You're right. That's the formula. The formula for this football team is don't turn the football over, get run game going, play conservative with your pass game. Don't get too crazy. Allow your skill position players to make the plays because you've got Ayuk and you've got Samuel and Kittle, who was still, again, very, very quiet last night. But that's the game plan. And my point all along has been the people who think Jimmy G is the reason why this team has gotten to where it's gotten in the past.
Oh, no.
That's not true.
No.
They get to where they've got to get to thanks to the run game and thanks to the defense. That's how this team wins. They don't win because of Jimmy Garoppolo.
But I think where you and I differ, you're right. We're closer than it might sound sometimes when we talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think where you and I differ is I don't think there are so many guys out. You're right that he doesn't take them there. I don't think there are as many guys out there who are at least good enough to go there with him. as you seem to think. I don't think there are as many Jimmy Garoppolos out there as a lot of other people do. Quarterback play in the modern era is atrocious for the most part. Quarterback play is the reason why none of these secondary leagues like the USFL and the AFL can't work, because there aren't enough good quarterbacks on this planet to make those products entertaining. And I think that Jimmy Garoppolo is in a class of quarterbacks that's not elite. It's not elite. I'm not saying it's elite, but it's more elite than you might think it is. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo can be replaced by that many guys around this league and still have the team success that the 49ers have.
Look, he was good. He was good. And I've told everybody, I'm going to be fair. That's what I am. I'm objective. Yes, I have plenty of opinions, but I'm objective. When the guy plays like trash, like he played like absolute trash 2 weeks ago, I'm going to tell you he played like trash. When he plays good and he does what's expected of him, doesn't turn the football over, then I'll sit there and I'll tell you he played good. When he makes an excellent throw to George Kittle that doesn't count, that I don't have to mention, I will mention it to give him credit and say that was a really good throw. But he's just not that guy. He's not that guy. And I don't want to relive every single conversation we've had because enough is enough. I look at it. No buts. I don't want to go down the road again. No buts.
I have a butt.
I do not accept butts with Jimmy G.
Love everybody.
All I'm going to tell you is, look at the playoffs, look at the postseason, look at what he's done in the biggest games, look at how much Kyle Shanahan doesn't trust him. That tells you everything you need to know about Garoppolo. Got nothing to do with my opinion. My opinion is my opinion. What's the head coach's opinion? The head coach's opinion is when we get to the postseason, thank God, because our defense and run game has been terrific, I'm not going to allow that guy to blow this thing up.
Chances are, every game where Jimmy plays like crap, as you said, he played like crap a couple weeks ago, I could point to a number of things that led to Jimmy playing, because he does need the circumstances around him to be good for him to be good. The pass blocking was very good last night. They got one pressure on him. He's going to be better when that happens. Kyle Shanahan called a better game. He's going to be better when that happens. They didn't fumble. He's going to be better when that happens. He needs the circumstances to be right. He's not going to lift you up, but he also can't be dragged down.
He doesn't make anybody better.
No.
Okay. And I do disagree with the notion that there's not a number of guys that can do what he can do. I think if you put the quarterback in this system, I think a guy like Ryan Tannehill could easily do what he did. I think a guy like Mac Jones could do what he did. I think
Mac Jones ain't there yet.
I think Mac Jones could do what he did in this system. Again, in this system, the way it's run, I think a guy like Kyler Murray could do it. I think Baker Mayfield would be better than he is if he was in this system. I think if you find the right quarterback, I think there's a number of guys that can do it. He's just not going to lift everybody else. So, again, I think we're actually much closer when it comes to evaluating this guy than people think. He is what he is. 916-339-1140 is the text line. Phone number is 1-800-920-1140. YouTube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Check us out. Don't forget to give us the thumbs up and also to subscribe. We want your thoughts on Jimmy G and what you saw last night from the Niners. We'll have a lot more thoughts about that game, but we got to get to the Kings. Did we like what we saw from the Kings defensively last night?
Playing the parade.
Find out in 90 seconds.
Get your 49ers fix every week. It's the new spot for local sports talk in the afternoon. Cattles and Ramie. Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports, 1140.
Time to check out Coastside Medical Clinic, dedicated to providing breakthrough remedies for men. Tony Dogs Ramie is right on point. Then he says, Nick, you're a hater.
Always on point.
Again, we have pretty much the same exact opinion about the player. I don't know how Ramie could be right on point and I could be a hater. We feel the same way about the guy.
That's pretty far on the spectrum of how you would label people on the Jimmy G subject.
Ramie, exactly right. Nick, you have no idea what you're talking about. We both called him a good quarterback, an average quarterback who doesn't make his players around him better. But somehow Tony filtered it in a different way. And
Tony's right.
And I'm a hater. We love Tony. We love Tony. We love him.
Habitual line stepper.
All right, let's get to the Kings. First of all, of course, we did this during the summer league, but we'll do it during the preseason. Disclaimer, caveat, we all know it was preseason game number 1 last night. I did walk into the hallway today and tell Frankie and Chris of the digital staff, 82-0. Get it ready.
I put a chair on K Street leading right to Doco for the parade. I want to get my spot ready. I want to have my spot ready.
Oh, sorry, it's going to be on the L.
Oh, man, come on.
Well, you got plenty of time.
I do. I'll go move it.
I don't think many people are going to be putting the chair down. I think you might be the only one. You might have to get closer to the playoffs.
It's a spot reserved for Kings Championship Parade right there.
I like that.
Yeah.
Do you put your last name on the back of the chair like a director or a producer?
It's a director's chair.
I don't know. Easy with that last name, Ramie. It's kind of close to somebody else.
Good point. All right, but number 1 on the list. Again, given the disclaimer, the context, we know it was preseason game number 1. But Ramie, both you and I said yesterday we were tunnel focused first and foremost on the defense. Did you like what you saw defensively from the Kings last night?
I liked it for the most part. There were stretches, and there was one stretch in the second quarter where it felt like the Kings had kind of reverted back to old ways, and it was something that we were worried about mostly is the defense in the paint. Are you going to be able to protect the rim and stop people from penetrating and getting easy buckets down there, or penetrating and finding the open man? And there was about 3 or 4 times down the court where Russell Westbrook just ran into the paint and nobody got in his way. A couple times he got the layup, a couple times he found the open man and they got the easy shot. But other than that, I really did like what I saw from the defense. And I said yesterday, Nick, it's not always, guys aren't always going to be in the right spot in preseason game number 1. There's still a learning curve going on here. I want to see, and you can see this in body language. You can see this just with the eye test and watching. Guys cared on the defensive side of the court. You know what I mean? Guys were putting effort into playing defense. And I think that's where we start when you're talking about this Kings team and where they're coming from as a defensive basketball team.
I think it depends on who you're talking about. So last night I thought Fox again showed spurts. And here's what happens with De'Aaron Fox. And Chris and JJ can disagree with me if they'd like. I don't think they will. So Fox plays in spurts. And he'll have a couple of plays where people will point to and go, see, he can defend. See, he can. And last night that happened again, right? He had a couple of plays towards the end of the first half. He had the block on Patrick Beverley. Mm-hmm. He had the steal and the dunk. He makes those plays every once in a while, and people will go, there it is. See, he can defend. He can defend. It's if he wants to defend. And again, I thought he played in spurts last night. He was okay. He wasn't great. Again, preseason game number 1. He's a veteran. Maybe he could not care less about consistently playing defense. So I thought Fox, again, showed you the spurts, which is what we've seen from him in the past. No major difference with him that I saw. Again, first preseason game. I thought Kevin Huerter played well defensively. And I don't think he's a great defensive player, but when he was traded for, we talked about it, and I had mentioned that Huerter plays good defense. He's not excellent. There are some guys that can get better of him because they're just a little bit more athletic, but he competes and he defends at a good enough rate. So I thought he was good. Domas is Domas. If you're expecting Domas to be good defensively,
keep waiting.
Yeah, you're gonna be disappointed because, and again, it's not because of lack of effort. It's not because of basketball IQ. It's not because of, desire or competitive level. It's just he is physically not capable of defending consistently at the rim because of the lack of athleticism, and he is not going to be able to consistently defend on the perimeter because he's not great laterally. He's not going to shuffle his feet and be able to take on guards. That's just not who he has been built. It's not the way he's been built. It is who he is. You deal with the good and the bad. I thought Keegan played well.
Really well.
And, we'll get to Keegan in totality later on, but I thought defensively Keegan played well. And there were a couple of possessions, Ramie, where he had LeBron, and I thought he did a pretty decent job against LeBron.
He stayed with him. You're not always going to win those battles. He is LeBron James, but he stayed with him. And Nick, one thing with Keegan Murray that we haven't really seen to be part of his game. And I'm paraphrasing, but shortly after he got drafted, Keegan Murray said in his very understated Keegan Murray way, there are things people think are weaknesses in his game that he simply just wasn't asked to do at Iowa, that there are things he can do that just weren't his role and he wasn't asked to do. He didn't mind getting a little bit physical in the paint yesterday and protecting the rim. And like I said, that's a concern for this Kings team. If Keegan Murray can help you in that department, and I'm not saying he's going to be the best rim protector in the world, but if he can help you in that department, that's a huge boost and not necessarily something you were even expecting. You were expecting to do a lot of things well when he got to the NBA, but that wasn't something you were necessarily expecting from that dude.
Here was Keegan talking defense last night.
Yeah, we really wanted to key in on defense and get easy buckets on the offensive end. Just hit singles, get easy open shots, and kick out threes, and that's what we got.
We wanted to key in on defense. I'm not sure Malik Monk was part of that week. We spoke to Malik last week at Media Day, and he talked to us about focusing on defense and really wanting to play good, solid defense. Not last night. There were 5, 6, 7 occasions where there was ole and just let the guy go by you. And again, preseason game number 1, Malik did play better defensively last year with the Lakers. It still wasn't great. He pretty much was an average defender. Before last year, he was well below average. Last night, he struggled on that end of the floor. And I need to see Monk play better defense. But I think overall, Ramie, when you watched the team last night, and we're talking first half, second half was a bleep show. I mean, it was bench versus bench.
You told me not to even watch the second half.
Don't. I watched the third quarter. I regret it. I want that time back in my life.
I took your advice because I wanted to focus on the 49ers game last night. I watched the first half of the Kings game this morning, and then I was going to watch the second half on my lunch break, so I knew what I was talking about here on the show, and you were like, don't even bother. So I listened.
I watched third quarter, and then there wasn't much.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
But overall, big picture, I do think the team defense gave you a little hope last night. I thought in totality, they moved their feet well. I thought most of the guys stayed in front, or at least try to stay in front of their man. I thought they contested a good number of shots. So I thought overall it was a decent first step. But there were some individuals that need to step up. And, Fox namely and Monk namely. Fox needs to be more consistent and Monk needs to be just better, point blank. And if you get that from those two guys, I think you'll feel much better about this defense as we get closer to the regular season, which is 2 weeks from tomorrow. I mean, things right around the corner. Right around the corner.
Go.
Sac State football back at home this Saturday versus Northern Colorado. Game time, 6 p.m. at Hornet Stadium. Get your tickets at hornetsports.com. Want your thoughts on the Kings defense last night? 916-339-1140 text line. Phone number is 1-800-920-1140. Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at Nick C Radio and at Ramie is tweeting. Get your thoughts on the Kings defense. We just gave you our thoughts on the defense, but what about the offense? We'll get to that next.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Buying or selling your luxury home is a lot like being on the first tee of an unfamiliar golf course. Hi, I'm Frank LaRosa with a word.
Sports headlines.
The list gets a little longer. The 49ers will lose yet another player for an extended period of time due to injury. Tackle Colton McKivitz has been diagnosed with the MCL sprain and is expected to be out at least 6 weeks. McKivitz is the third 49er to be diagnosed with the MCL sprain this season. And some good news, according to head coach Kyle Shanahan, safety Jimmy Ward, and cornerback Jason Verrett will return to practice tomorrow for the first time all season. Also in the NFL, the Broncos, who lost Javonte Williams for the season, signed his replacement today when they agreed to a deal with Latavius Murray of the Saints off the practice squad. Murray is eligible to play this weekend. Those are your headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. Now more of the Cattles and Ramie Show.
Sacramento has a new tag team in the afternoons.
You're talking to the original tag team of ugly pukes here.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie.
Before we get to the Kings offense last night and what we saw, see this text. JJ has placed this text into the Slack chat. Don't forget the text line, 916-339-1140, 916-339-1140.
For stuff just like this.
We were talking about quarterbacks that could play in this San Francisco offense and be decent enough.
Yeah.
And I said Baker Mayfield. And immediately somebody fired off a text. Baker Mayfield, drug test Nick. All right.
What?
Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you that Baker Mayfield is good right now. He's not. He's clearly not. Just had like the lowest QBR in like the history of the statistic this past week. My point is, if you took Baker and you put him into this offensive system and you had Kyle Shanahan as his coach, I do think he would be good. Now, maybe he's broken. Maybe he's broken beyond repair. But let's not forget that in his rookie season, this is a guy who threw 27 touchdowns and had a rating of 94. Let's not forget that in 2020, he threw 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions and had a passer rating of 96. That's 2 years ago. Let's not forget this guy had like 5 different offensive coordinators in his first 5 years in the NFL. So my point is, if you put him in a system with a good coach, good offensive coordinator, a system that fits him, and not have chaos around him, and not have, some of the skill position players and all that stuff that happened in one of the worst offensive lines in football for the first few years of his career, then I do think Baker would fit in this offense. And I think he'd be better than he is right now. And I think he'd be just fine. He'd be okay. He'd be good. He'd be average. Again, he might be too broken now. But let's not forget what that dude did 2 years ago. Just 2 years ago.
I like Baker Mayfield more than most people do, and I don't disagree with a lot of what you just said. The only reason I don't think he'd work in Shanahan's system is because he's even with a good coach and in a good system with good players around him, he's got that old gunslinger in him. You know what I mean? And Kyle Shanahan does not want a risk taker.
He has a little bit of that.
He does not want a risk taker. He wants somebody who's going to go out there and execute the offense and push the buttons on the controller that he wants them to push, you know what I mean, and hit the right target. Baker Mayfield he's not that dude. He's going to go out there and he's going to freestyle a little bit. I don't think he wouldn't work because he's a bad quarterback necessarily. I think him and Shanahan are just a bad fit. And Stefanski runs a very similar system to what Shanahan does. They're both off the same tree, and that did not work in Cleveland between Stefanski and Mayfield. That's the only reason I don't think that he would work with the 49ers or be able to replace Jimmy.
Yeah, don't want to spend too much time on him. But I think, I think it was more mental with the Stefanski thing and his time in Cleveland. I just think he was done by the time, people were hoping he'd turn it around. And does that show professionalism? No, he was not a great professional. He was not a great leader. But skill-wise, I think he would absolutely be a good fit. There's an Oklahoma system with Lincoln Riley and stuff like that. Let's get back to the Kings. Expectations offensively for the Kings, very high this year, Ramie. You and I have talked about it. We think that this team is going to be one of the better offensive teams in basketball. Paul George talked about him a week or two ago at Media Day of the Clippers. First half last night was rough. That was rough to watch. First preseason game, again, that's the disclaimer, that's the caveat. We're going to do it all preseason long. It's the preseason. We know there's going to be some sloppiness. There's going to be some ugliness. Last night it was rough. Your thoughts on what you saw on that end of the floor?
It was sloppy, but that's the end of the floor where I expect to see the sloppiness, Nick. That's where you need guys to really be in sync, to be on the right spot on the court at the right time and know where everybody is at and get the ball to the right place at the right time. And that's a learning process. That you have new faces, you have new coaches, you have a new system. That's going to be a learning process. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's not to simplify things too much. It's about putting the ball in the basket, and they just did not shoot the ball well at all last night. 23% from behind the three-point line, 40% from the field as a whole. I mean, say what you want about the X's and O's and guys not being on the right places on the court at the right time. The sloppiness and the ugliness that Mike Brown told us would be there, very honestly, before the first preseason game of the season tipped off. But the shooting is slightly concerning for the first preseason game, as concerning as something can be after one preseason game.
I'll tell you what I thought about the offense, but first let's hear from Keegan talking about the win last night.
Yeah, I think it was good for all of us. Personally, putting on a Kings uniform for the first time in live action, it was good to go against someone else instead of in practice. So it felt like it's a good team win all around for us.
So a couple of things. Disjointed is the word I would use for stretches watching last night. Mm-hmm. The offensive operation was far from smooth. there were a lot of bumps in the road. And you're right. I mean, I think the first thing you have to say is they missed a lot of shots. And I thought they missed a decent number of open shots. Honestly, I thought they had some good looks that they just missed. But some of the issues that I saw, and really none of this should be a surprise in the first preseason game, especially with a brand new head coach and some roster turnover. I thought communication was a little off. The one thing that caught me by surprise is that Fox and Domas, they were not on the same page a couple of times last night. That surprises me because, when that trade was made, played pretty well together. And I wouldn't say it was always seamless, but they were a little bit off on their communication last night. That was a little bit of a surprise. I thought the spacing at times was off. Guys in the same area, guys too cluttered in one spot. It wasn't completely spaced out. I would have liked to see more movement of the ball, and I would have liked to see guys move a little bit more. And I'll tell you, and I don't know if this is going to be a change as we go through the preseason and get closer to the regular season. They did not get Domas a ton of touches. And you and I have talked about this, and we talked to Domas about this at Media Day. Jordy Fernandez coming from Denver. You look at Jokic and how they run offense. Mike Brown being from Golden State, and you see what they do with Draymond Green. I expected, even in preseason game number 1, I expected to see a lot of action off of Sabonis, and that wasn't the case. I don't know if it's a situation where Mike Brown is going to slowly kind of transition to that through the preseason, but I think you've got to get him the basketball early and often. I think you got to get him the ball on the elbow extended. You got to get him the ball above the break, and you got to run some offense, through him. We didn't see a ton of that last night.
I can chalk up, or I was thinking maybe some of that miscommunication and the lack of as you were talking about chemistry between Fox and Sabonis that we thought would be there right off the bat. Maybe you chalk that up to, well, they're maybe putting a little too much effort into involving other guys. You know what I mean? But that wouldn't mean that Domas is getting the ball and then passing it. Like you said, running some offense through him. That wasn't even the case. I would be much more okay with it if he was getting the ball and then trying to find the open man, and maybe even trying a little too hard to find the open man instead of taking it to the hoop himself. But that wasn't even the case, Nick. He just wasn't getting touches. They weren't running much through Domas yesterday. But again, maybe that is just the coaches saying, we know what he can do. Let's see what else we can work into the game plan and where else we might have some strengths and what are our weaknesses and things that we should kind of stay away from. You know what I mean? This is a learning process here.
We'll talk more about Keegan later, but I thought Keegan was good offensively. I thought Kevin Huerter looked really, really smooth. Again, I thought with Fox, spurts, I thought, in spurts, he was good. Late in the first half, he kind of had a boost of energy and got going a little bit. Again, could be game 1 of the preseason, and he's kind of letting the game come to him. He's a veteran. That happens. Some guys don't even want to play. Some guys don't play in the preseason much. So we saw some spurts again. I would just like to see some drive and kick. The other part of it that I liked or that I thought we saw, And we talked about this, Ramie, at Media Day with Malik Monk. We asked Malik what was the most overlooked part of his game, and he said playmaking. And I thought in the first half, when you go back, you watch that game last night, when Monk and Mitchell came in, it was he and Davion, the first two guys off the bench. And I thought in the first half, Monk was trying to be playmaker. I thought he actually ran a lot of offense, and they ran a lot of pick and roll with him. And it looked like he was making a concerted effort to be that playmaker and get other guys the ball. And Davion was playing off of the ball. When you then look at the third quarter, the exact opposite. Davion and Monk started the second half. Fox was out and Herder was out. And what you saw was Monk be more aggressive. And Monk was that guy trying to score. And I think that's the guy that you want to see. You want to see that microwavable offense. He didn't have a great night shooting, but you saw two different Malik Monks offensively last night. First half, let's get other guys involved, playmaking. Second half, okay, now I'm going to try to get mine.
That's why I think I like him more off the – we've talked about Herder and Monk in the starting lineup, Nick, and I think I like him more off the bench for that reason, that microwavable offense, but also sort of a guy – who can lead that second unit and do multiple things for them and make that second unit multifaceted and dangerous in a couple of different ways where you don't really know what's coming when Malik Monk comes in the game. Is he going to be the playmaker? Is he going to be the guy who tries to create for other people? I think he's a better fit for that 6-man role, and I like Kevin Herder starting a little bit more and the guys who are starting around Kevin Herder filling in some of those gaps.
Bad news for you, Ramie.
What's that?
Patrick Donaldson thinks we're being too negative for a game they won by 30.
Sorry, Pat.
Sorry, Patrick. We'll try to do better. He said he's leaving.
I put out a chair for the parade. What do you want from me, Patrick?
Look, we're talking about they won by 30 because the second half, it was Bench City, USA. What was the score at half? Was it 46-41, 46-42? Something awful. If you watched that game last night and you thought first half they played great offensively,
46-41.
I don't know what to tell you, right? And defensively, I said there was hope in the big picture. There were a couple of guys that did not defend consistently, but I gave Herder credit, right? I gave Keegan credit against LeBron.
Dude, I put a chair out for the championship parade. How much more positive do you want me to be?
People just hate honesty, man. They hate the truth. They hate the truth. Preseason game number 1, They won by 30. That's all we need to talk about. They won by everything was perfect last night. The first half, when the starters played against the starters and the Kings were down by 5 at halftime and looked disjointed offensively, I'm not going to act as if that exists. We're not
going to happen.
That didn't
I don't
happen.
even know what you're talking about.
By the way, Kings Sunday, October 16th, Fan Fest, Golden One Center. Doors open at 2 p.m. Festivities kick off at 3. Reserve tickets at kings.com. You get the skills challenge with players. 3-on-3 National Cup Tournament, Kid Zone, special giveaways, all sorts of good stuff. Kings Fan Fest, October 16th. Again, doors open at 2 p.m. Festivities kick off at 3 p.m. Coming up, an NBA owner gone wild.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Yeah, we're a sport.
Just two guys rubbing elbows, talking sports, and lots of other stuff.
Those keep you on edge.
That's really crazy interesting.
It's Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports, 1140.
We'll have your chance to win some Bill Maher tickets coming up. We should do a YouTube thing today. Little YouTube contest. I don't know what you want to do. Ramie, I'll leave this up to you because they're stand-up comedy tickets. I feel like you can be creative, and at some point in the 4 or 5 o'clock hour,
I'll come up with something.
Tickets. Okay.
You better bring it.
You better bring it. If you don't, we'll be very disappointed in you.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't want that. You won't be mad. You'll be disappointed.
Yes.
Like my dad.
Yes.
Precisely. My entire childhood.
I think, by the way, I think JJ has a man crush.
On whom?
Talanoa Hufanga.
I think a lot of 49ers fans have a man crush on that dude right now.
Listen, we will give Hufanga his love later on in the show, okay?
Overreaction Tuesday. He's the best safety in the league.
JJ just put a note in. Pro Football Focus's top graded safeties in the NFL through 1 month. Talanoa Hufanga is number one.
He's been good.
He's been fantastic.
And a great head of hair, too.
We'll talk more about
fantastic head of hair.
I've got hair that people would die to have.
We'll talk more about Hufanga a little bit later, but our guy JJ was like, we got to get Hufanga in today.
He's been saying that for weeks.
If we don't get Hufanga in today, I'm quitting the show, guys.
For weeks. He's been trying, and rightly so. He's been trying to get Hufanga talk into the show.
JJ's been here for a number of years. If you were wondering what his point of no return was going to be, it was no Talanoa Hufanga today. I am out if this doesn't happen. When you speak of me well, but I am leaving. Had enough of this.
We will get to him.
This is blasphemous. Ridiculous.
We will get some Hufanga talk.
Watch, there's going to be some crazy trade that happens right before we get
to
it.
We got to blow out the Hufanga talk. Jail throwing stuff in the
walking out.
They throwing stuff in the studio. Enough is enough. Anyway, we'll get to Hufanga. We got a lot of King stuff to talk about as well as my voice cracks. So the Clippers, they played in Seattle last night, and the crowd was all pumped and jacked. And I think all of us would agree Seattle needs a basketball team. They should have a basketball team.
You agree with that?
I think they're a great basketball fan base. I know there's a history and all that stuff, but, I mean, Seattle is a great basketball fan base. They are passionate. They pack the arenas. So I would like to see a team in Seattle someday. But so the Clippers played in Seattle last night, and Steve Ballmer, neither you nor I have heard this sound.
I have not heard it.
We have no idea.
I saw it without the sound on one of the TVs here in the studio.
And if you see it visually, there's a lot to see there.
I think he still heard it.
You didn't have to technically hear it. If you watched, you kind of heard it. You saw, and we know Steve Ballmer, like he tends to get a little excited.
Yeah.
He tends to get all a little bit revved up, right? So apparently last night, Steve Ballmer went to half court, microphone in hand, and it was Ballmer being Ballmer.
I am so excited to have a game in my hometown of Seattle, Washington. I am so excited.
Is he excited?
To see Climate Pledge Arena, this fantastic building, light up tonight. I'm so excited that we're playing the Portland Trailblazers.
What?
I gotta be honest, a lot of us wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Blazers. Paul Allen, founder of Microsoft, got me interested in basketball before he passed, the owner of the Blazers. Thanks to all the Blazers tonight. And last, but not least,
do we have stop capability? No.
Whether you guys agree.
Oh, we do. All right. He went from, I'm excited! We're in Seattle! I'm from here!
Then he got a little somber. He's like,
by the way, Paul Allen,
the late owner,
is the reason why I love basketball. He passed away. God rest the Paul Allen. But let me tell you how excited I am. This is the greatest day of my life, aside from buying the Clippers.
He's a Chris Farley character, dude.
He is.
Matt Foley.
He is Matt. Yeah, I was going to say.
Whipping the arms
I'm
around.
so excited to be playing this game in a van Down by the river.
I would love to. I want to hear it again, just from how he went from Paul Allen just passed away.
It's a roller coaster ride, man.
To everybody, let's go nuts. Pointer Sisters. He's very excited. Did they play that song? I'm so excited behind him. It would have been perfect. Let's hear him go from, Paul Allen, great man, taught me to love basketball, passed away. Let's remember him.
Paul Allen, founder of Microsoft, got me interested in basketball before he passed, the owner of the Blazers. Thanks to all the Blazers tonight. And last, but not least, I want to know whether you guys agree with me. I've watched thousands of basketball games in Seattle. CYO, Middleton, AAU, Pro, college, you name it. So if this is a basketball city, damn it, let's hear it.
He's fired up, dude. He loves basketball. That dude loves him some basketball.
I want to hear him talk today. There's no way he has a voice.
Do you have that much passion for anything? I don't think I have that much. I envy the man's passion for the sport of basketball. I don't know. I'm pretty fired up about my job on a day-to-day basis. I get up every day and I go, man, I get to do something pretty cool and kind of have fun for a living. I'm not that fired up for anything.
I'm so excited.
I've never had that level of energy.
It feels like
for anything.
It feels like you don't have to necessarily tell people you're that excited when it's obvious that you're that excited. Let me tell you, I'm excited. High fives for everybody. All right, man. You're a little intimidating right now with how excited you are. You might want to drop it down.
I love it.
Never let the party die.
Could you imagine Bomber? He had to be in a frat, right, when he was in college?
Oh, yeah.
He's a dude who walks in.
Yeah.
Good stands for everybody. No!
I'm so excited.
Jungle juice in the living room.
I'm so excited.
Man, oh, man. This is unbelievable. Pour some sugar on me.
The dude's got a passion for life, man.
Pour some sugar on me now.
Cake stands, bro. Cake stands.
It's not a party until I hear Def Leppard.
That's how excited we are.
We've been told that we're a little too loud.
Okay.
Well, Steve Ballmer. We're
I'll tell you what,
Steve Ballmer here.
There's no way we could work for Steve Ballmer.
I'm so excited.
My guy was excited, man.
Did we really get a noise complaint?
We
did. Really?
Yes.
Isn't this soundproofed? Aren't we soundproofed?
Oh, no.
No? Oh, my bad. Sorry to
Wow.
our neighbors.
Well, there you have it.
Sorry to our Bonneville neighbors.
Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Sometimes it's worth it. Anyway, meanwhile, Kawhi Leonard.
Remember, ask for forgiveness, not permission.
That's right. Kawhi.
That's a first for me. I've been doing radio almost 20 years, man. I never got a noise complaint.
Well, you got to remember,
my coworkers.
our boss is downstairs.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had fun, though. It's like I
I
said,
had a greed time.
it was great. I might not have a voice
Keep it
by
down,
4:30,
Steve.
but 11-4-2 for Kawhi. He returned last night. He played 16 minutes. By the way, did you know that Kawhi Leonard has not played in more than 60 regular season games in 6 years?
It's been 6 years.
Last time he played more than 60 regular season games was in like 2016.
Yeah, I guess even the year that he won the title in Toronto, they were doing the whole load management thing there.
The Clippers are dangerous. They're full of wings. Kawhi, PG-13, Nick Batum, Powell, Covington. If it's a wings league, then they got a ton of them. So Kawhi was back. And also Ben Simmons returned. Ben Simmons was back last night, and he actually played 6 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. He played in 19 minutes. And I don't know how you feel, Ramie, about it, but I remember when Simmons was traded to Brooklyn. I think he's a really good fit. When you look at the strengths of his teammates and what his weaknesses are, he can rebound, he can defend, he can facilitate. Let Kyrie and KD handle the shooting and the scoring and all that kind of stuff. but he's got to play. Obviously, if he doesn't play, then it doesn't matter.
I think he became a punchline for a lot of people in the NBA, around the NBA, and in some cases, I guess rightly so. And he brought some of it on himself. I thought a lot of it was unfair, but bottom line is, throughout all that, I think people forgot that Ben Simmons does some things at an elite level in the end. His defense is top notch, and he can take anyone 1 through 3, sometimes some 4s he can take and lock down in this league. Ben Simmons does some things really, really well, and I think that got lost in the shuffle of all the Ben Simmons drama and all the jokes that we had about Ben Simmons over the last year and a half since he passed on that shot in the playoff game that the Sixers lost in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Again, much like Kawhi, you talk about games played. He's played 58 or less games 3 straight years. And we'll see. We'll see how he looks physically and how he is mentally, because we know he had some mental health challenges, especially at the beginning of last year. And he said he's gone through some things and felt like the 76ers did not help him with that. Feels like the Nets have helped him with that. So we'll see. I mean, the Nets, obviously, they are one of the most fascinating teams in the NBA this year, because it could go really well if everything falls into place, or it could be a train wreck by I don't know, January. Could be a mess, maybe even earlier than that. So we'll see how they do.
Am I going to get a talking to or some dirty stares?
Don't forget, I'm PD. I think I'm going to get the talking.
I was going to run to the bathroom during the break, and now I'm afraid to walk these halls because I feel like,
hey, look, if we're having fun and we're in 5th gear, I think it's fine.
All right.
Okay. Good. Just like we get, told to, ratchet it back a little bit. We ratchet it back a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we listened.
No regrets.
We listened. We weren't inconsiderate neighbors. We didn't hear the noise complaint. We were like, screw you, we're rock and roll. No, we listened. We did we did what they asked.
We did.
We pumped it back a little bit.
You worried? I feel like you're worried. You a little concerned?
A little bit.
Pump that back a little bit.
Hey, man, if you're having too much fun, I don't think that's a bad thing. A 49er goes on record about the team's defense. What did he say? Find out next.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Divorce becomes a reality. You need a partner that you can count on. If you're a man in this situation, consider contacting Cordell & Cordell. We've helped men navigate complex legal matters for 30 years.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Sacramento area attorneys. A partner men
tomorrow for the first time all season. Also in the NFL, the Kenny Pickett era has begun in Pittsburgh as Pickett, who came in for relief for Mitch Trubisky, has been named the starting quarterback as of today for the Steelers. On the diamond, A's manager Mark Kotsay announced today A's catcher Stephen Vogt will get the start for his final game of his career tomorrow. Speaking of the A's play tonight against the Los Angeles Angels. It's game 161 for the A's. We will have all the action right here on Sactown Sports 1140 beginning at 5:40 with the pregame. Those are your headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. Now more of the Cattles and Ramie show, who they're excited.
Can't get enough, and if you move real slow, I'll let it go. I am so excited. And I just can't.
Steve Ballmer.
I am so excited.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Steve Ballmer. We'll never do a segment like that again, apparently. So if anybody wants to hear it, go to the podcast page.
Sactownsports.com.
Sactownsports.com.
Yes, sir.
I think we might be safe on Fridays.
Might be good on Friday.
We might be good on Friday.
Might be good on Friday. So save
Friday scream session.
Save
should we make that a fixture?
Save the high octane for Fridays. So
You better bring it.
we've got more Kings talk coming up. Keegan Murray not starting last night. What's going on with that? We'll talk about that about a half hour from now. We got Jeff Howe coming up in 15 minutes or so. Let's go back to the Niners, though, Ramie. We talked about Jimmy G and his performance last night. Both you and I thought he was good. The 49ers defense was just insanely good.
Really?
They wreaked havoc all night long for Matthew Stafford. And here's what Nick Bosa had to say about his defense in the postgame.
I think it's best in the league. That's kind of our mindset every year. And this year we have the personnel to do it. Not that we haven't in the past, but just all three levels is elite players. I think the addition of Charvarius and Huff starting to play at this level, and obviously we're going to get Jimmy and Verrett back, which is pretty scary. And then the depth on the D-line, guys like Hassan and Charles and Sampson's coming on. I think he's playing his best ball of his career. So it's a group effort.
Nick Bosa, not necessarily a Steve Ballmer delivery. A little bit more understated than our friend Steve
He's excited.
Ballmer.
He just has a different way of showing
He's
it.
got different way to show that excitement. But your thoughts on what we saw last night from that defense?
He might be right. It might be the best in the NFL right now, Nick. And I don't want to get too carried away after 4 weeks, but this might be a historically good defense. And he's, I mean, he knows football. He's Nick Bosa, but he's spot on when he talks about the depth of the defensive line and their pass rushers. They constant, and that's getting tested with some of these injuries that they've had to a couple of pass rushers, but they can constantly have fresh legs in there. And when you do that, you can sort of cherry pick who you want on the field in the biggest passing down situations late in the game and put your best pass rushers out there. 14 pressures yesterday for Nick Bosa, 2 sacks, which is what's going to show up in the box score, but 14 pressures. And they pressured Matthew Stafford as a unit almost 48% of the time, Nick. They were all over him. And that's not a good Rams offensive line.
No.
And we know about some of the opponents, especially in weeks 1 and 2, weren't necessarily the greatest tests. But, man, they're allowing 3.81 yards per play. That would be the lowest figure since 1977 in the NFL. This is a really, really high-level defense that we've watched through 4 weeks here.
They've been really good, and last night they were terrific. In the pass rush, you mentioned it, Bosa, with the 14 quarterback pressures. His pressure rate, I want to add on top of that, his pressure rate last night was 31.8%, okay? Now, to put that into perspective, Bosa, his pressure rate, 31.8%. The NFL average pressure rate for an entire defense this season, 31.9%. So, Nick Bosa last night, his pressure rate is equal to a full football team's average.
He did a whole team's work of pass rushing by himself.
By himself.
Yes.
One individual guy. gave you an entire team's pass rush. That is absolutely freaking absurd. All right, now it's time. Our guy JJ, get excited. We got to talk about Talanoa Hufanga.
I was going to scream, but I figured it'd get us in trouble.
Yes, we don't. No more screaming for the rest of this show.
Can Steve Ballmer tell us how JJ feels about Talanoa Hufanga talk on the show?
I am so excited.
Yes.
Okay.
Look, Hufanga last night, obviously with the pick six. And what I see from him is, first and foremost, film study. He has anticipation, right? But some of these things you're not going to anticipate at the level that he is anticipating unless you watch film and you understand tendencies and you know what that, offense is trying to do against you. And he is diagnosing things quickly. And he's not only diagnosing things quickly, Ramie, he's reacting quickly. He's anticipating. His instincts are terrific. And this guy, since week one, moment one, has been great this year.
And you already have a pretty good safety in Jimmy Ward, but he hasn't been on the field to this point in the season. When you have that tandem together, because safety play is such a game changer in the NFL. And if Hufanga is for real, man, if what we've seen through 4 weeks, or if he can play anywhere near that level throughout the season and you get Jimmy Ward back, we're talking about a scary tandem of safeties for the 49ers and two guys that can do things at multiple levels at first, second, and third level for that defense in terms of coming down and making some big hits and being involved in slowing down a run game, in terms of running around the middle of the field, matching up with tight ends and running backs that are coming out of the backfield, and staying back and protecting against the deep stuff with some of the deeper threat wide receivers around this league, and the instincts that you're talking about. I had you ever have thoughts, takes, Nick, and you're like, oh.
Yes, I have thoughts, Ramie.
But do you ever have one and you're like, that's crazy? Don't say that out loud.
Yes.
Don't say that out loud.
Yes, that happens.
After week 2, I was like, this is Hufanga. He's reminding me of Troy Polamalu. And I was like, that's crazy. That's a Hall of Famer. Don't say that out loud. But then multiple Hall of Famers have made the same. I thought I was just doing that lazy thing that your brain sometimes does. You know what I mean? You see the long hair. He's Samoan like Troy Polamalu is. Sometimes your brain just does lazy things like that. You're like, Troy Polamalu. But no, man, it's more than that. This dude has football instincts and is just flying all over the field with reckless abandon. And I love it. I love watching that dude play football.
Here's what Hufanga had to say about his pick six last night after the game.
But we're just man coverage, locked up with the tight end. And then, they just been running screens all night. So, I just kind of saw a different release than I'm used to. And I just, instead of really going and following my man, I just turned my head and ball kind of dropped in my face. I ain't gonna lie. So, thought Stafford was going to catch me. I ain't going to lie. My 40 time doesn't help when it comes to that. So, but definitely just very grateful. Just go out there with my guys and have fun.
Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports, obviously Hufanga being humble. He talked about his speed and all that stuff. And what's interesting is we get into the combine talk and we get into the tools and all of that. Hufanga last night, this is from David Lombardi, who tweeted this. Hufanga hit over 21 miles per hour on his pick six. He was the second fastest ball carrier of the week in the NFL per Next Gen Stats. And what's interesting about that is Hufanga ran a 4.640. So as Lombardi tweeted out, 4.640 time was indeed not indicative of actual game speed. And when you watch Hufanga, he plays at a breakneck pace. And to be able to anticipate and be so instinctual and play so fast and actually make impact plays, it's not as easy as he makes it look. And I think he's been terrific. He has been the revelation on this team across the board. I think he's the one guy that has really exceeded expectations at such a high level that it's almost making your head spin.
I think if he keeps playing at this level, he's one of, if not the main reason that a very good defense could go to becoming a great defense.
Now, again, the Rams offense, you have to look at that as well. Mm-hmm. The Niners have played a couple of crappy offenses, and frankly, people are looking at this Rams team before last night's game for sure and really giving them the benefit of the doubt offensively because their track record with Sean McVay. The fact is this team's been awful this year offensively. When you look at yards per play, I think they're like second to last in the NFL. They have been bad. And when you watch them, Ramie, I mean, you know what their offense is. It's Cooper Kupp, it's Higbee, and nobody else. And Kupp will kill you with yards after the catch, but if you limit him after his catch, this offense really has not much to offer. The run game is bad. They don't have a legitimate number 2 receiver because Allen Robinson is not fitting in just yet. Van Jefferson is out with an injury, so they don't have a number 2 guy who they can depend on along with Kupp. They missed a big play capability downfield of OBJ and what he added to that offense late in the season a year ago. Their offensive line is putrid, and I thought Matthew Stafford last night was bad.
He does not look good,
He
man.
did not see the field well. He was erratic with his completion percentage and his accuracy and what he was trying to do out there. I thought Stafford looked bad, and he has to be so much better than that because of everything around him not being as good.
I think the Rams and a lot of other people were looking at Allen Robinson in Chicago and going, oh, we know that guy's good. He's just being wasted because of what Chicago is and how they play offense. And that very well might be or probably was the case, but also at the same time, he might have just been losing a step. You know what I mean? Time was going by while he was sitting there not being used the right way in Chicago, and Allen Robinson just might not be the same dude anymore. And what the Rams expected when they brought him in, he's not separating. He's not getting open. He has been a non-factor for them, and I think they expected him on some level to be the guy who was going to replace OBJ and what they lost in OBJ with the injury and then him being a free agent now. And he has not been anywhere near that. He's just not getting open. It's not that they're not using him or they don't want to throw him the football. He's not getting open. He is, I think I saw a stat, Nick, 144th out of 145 eligible receivers in terms of average separation from the next closest defender. He has been bad for them this year.
And just, the play that really sticks out to you last night was I think it was 3rd and 3, and it was a simple out route to the sticks, and he ran it short of the sticks, and Stafford kind of threw it where he thought Robinson was going to be, and you could just tell the frustration on Stafford's face when they were unable to connect. So that Rams offense is pretty bad right now.
They got some problems.
Yeah, they do.
I'm not sticking a fork in them, but they got some problems.
No, McVay has too much of a track record, and Jefferson comes back. Maybe they add OBJ, but right now they are not good. It's time to check out Cosi Medical Clinic, dedicated to providing breakthrough remedies for men. Are the Niners the favorites in the West? That and more with NFL insider Jeff Howe coming up in 90 seconds.
When it comes to the Kings, nobody has you covered like we do.
Cattles and Ramie, being joined by Malik Monk.
Me and Fox, Kevin, all the guys here, man, can do a thing and
NFL insider Jeff Howe.
He is our friend. He's also really good at what he does. His name is Jeff Howe, NFL insider for The Athletic, joining us here on Cattles and Ramie on Sactown Sports. Jeff, as always, we appreciate your time, my friend. Let's start with last night's game. Were you surprised by how dominant the Niners were?
Well, yes and no, because you're kind of surprised that, the Super Bowl champs go down the way they did. But looking at the 3-4 year history of this rivalry, aside from that playoff game, the Niners have really controlled it. So I guess I'm not surprised to that extent. I thought the Rams would win that game, but in hindsight, I was the moron here. Look at the reason why the Niners have been so successful, again, for the large part of the last 3 or 4 years. It's because they've been the more physical team, because they've been able to control the game on the ground, because they've played really good defense, and every single one of those things came to fruition in a pretty dominant win last night.
I'll frame the question this way. How much of what we've seen from the 49ers through 4 weeks is this defense is just that good, and how much of it do you think is some weaker opponents?
Well, the defense was legitimately good, but then you look at, the hiccup against Denver. It looked like a team that was led by a quarterback who didn't have a training camp. So, of course they were out of sync. It made plenty of sense for why they struggled through a big portion, or basically the entirety of that game. But this is a team, especially offensively, they're still going to be trying to find themselves. And that's because Garoppolo basically had his entire August, or you know what, you could say his entire offseason wiped out, because he was coming back from the surgery. Obviously, as everybody knows, didn't think he was going to be with the team. And then all of a sudden he's back in it, and trying to get yourself up to full speed that quickly, especially coming off surgery. This isn't just like a guy who took the offseason off or anything like that. When you go through a rehab from the surgery, it throws off your entire offseason timeline. And that's a real factor. So I think, this is a team that, it's funny. I heard Belichick explain it one time, several years ago, about what mid-season form is, and that's a real thing, because when you get into the season, everybody's sort of sloppy. Everybody's trying to figure out who they are, and then this mid-season form thing is real, because that's when these teams start to find themselves. They start to get into a rhythm, and I think that's going to be even more true for a Niners team that is just getting its quarterback into it.
Jeff Howe is with us. We're a month in. Totally agree with you, Jeff, as far as the timeline with NFL teams. Right now, though, when you look at this NFC West, everybody's 2-2. Should the Niners be the favorites?
With the way, I think with the way they just handled the Rams, yes, they should. And Seattle should not be considered a serious player. Maybe they surprised some teams, but that's a team that was supposed to have a down year. The Cardinals. When I was talking to, it was close to 20 people around the league for a survey I did in week 1, asking a lot of people around the league, front office executives, GMs, coaches, and so forth. And one of the questions was, who's going to have a down year? And a lot of these people picked the Cardinals as one of those teams. So I don't think they have a whole lot of staying power. Plus, you look at the way they finished the last 2 seasons, you sort of expect a slide later in the season anyway. So it's probably going to come down to the Rams and the Niners once again. And you see the way the Niners just kind of handled the Rams, and you should. You should, through week 4, consider them the favorites.
How much trouble are the Rams in?
That's a team that's really fighting it. And, they have some turnover on defense. They're struggling to get Allen Robinson involved. Matthew Stafford just doesn't look good. Now, do you hit the panic button on Stafford because of the elbow situation? I don't think so. And then you kind of look at last year, he went through stretches like this when he just didn't look good, or he made pivotal mistakes. And now we have the knowledge in hindsight to know that he was dealing with a significant amount of elbow pain last year. And ultimately they won the Super Bowl. So, they're a real interesting case, because Cincinnati struggling off of a Super Bowl loss was expected. The Rams struggling off a Super Bowl win kind of came out of left field, especially since I spent a couple days with them in August. This looked like a team that was ready to have a hot start. So I'm surprised that they're kind of fighting it in the early going.
Jeff Howe from The Athletic is with us here on Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports. Jeff, your thoughts on how the Tua situation was handled from the beginning up until this point?
Well, I think clearly when the PA exercises their right to relieve the spotter of his duties or fire him, however you want to word it, they think that this thing was sloppy. And I'm really interested to see how this kind of joint investigation plays out because, we all looked, you saw it in real time in week 3 when he crumpled to his knees there. I mean, that looks like a concussion. Now, you hear the information after the game that he had a back injury. You can kind of wrap your head around it and say, okay, well, you know what? Your back locks up. Maybe you do stumble like that. Maybe you can kind of compartmentalize and say, all right, you know what? Maybe we just all misread this thing. But then seeing what happened 4 or 5 days later on Thursday Night Football, I mean, clearly something was missed. And, I think I don't want to rush to conclusions because this, you've learned over the years, this isn't a torn ACL. It's not a broken leg. It's not an injury that you can visibly see while watching from afar. You kind of just have to trust all the information that's processed behind the scenes and then kind of make your judgments from there.
Do you think that there's got to be some kind of mechanism in play? I know that the whole thing is protecting players from themselves, but at the same time, if Tua's and I'm not putting Tua in a bad light in any way, if any player is not fully up front with a doctor when getting checked for a head injury or any other kind of injury, how are you supposed to treat something that you're not being told is necessarily there?
Yeah, you're totally right. And I think that's the $1 million question here because players now 10 years ago, and you kind of hear some of these, the ex-players who are now in the media, they're telling these stories. Stories like this had been told a little more privately in, past years. But players would memorize the concussion test question, and they would know exactly how they were supposed to answer this thing. And they kind of trained themselves to be able to beat some of these questions and to get themselves back onto the field. And then you hear, Rodney Harrison saying, I think it was on Sunday Night Football, just, hey, it's not worth it. Like, I went through this, or he's seen players and teammates and friends go through this and everything they deal with in their post-playing careers. And it's scary stuff. But, yeah, I think something something that's possible that comes out of this is when the spotter is looking at this from up in the box or wherever they happen to be, and they see a player crumple to the ground the way Tua did in week 3, that might be one of those things where it becomes automatic. And it's like, I don't care what you say about your back, about your knee, about whatever. That looks like a concussion. We're not prepared to diagnose it in real time. If they're not, because if the symptoms might not surface immediately, that's a natural thing, or that's a common thing that happens with concussion. But if they see that type of mechanism happen, you can just immediately say, you're done for the night.
Jeff, as always, thanks for the time, man. We'll catch up with you next week.
All right, appreciate you guys. Have a good week.
There goes Jeff Howe of the Athletic NFL Insider. And, that's pretty much what I talked about yesterday. It's really a difficult system because of the good points that Ramie brings up. But when you see something that's as dramatic and as shaken as Tua was after that Buffalo hit, I think everybody involved has to err on the side of caution and say, that doesn't look right. We don't feel right. Let's not put him back out there.
And maybe that's the rule that you don't even go and take the concussion test. You're just out. You know what I mean? Because players are going to try and hide this stuff, man. You know it. That's their nature. They don't want to let their teammates down. They don't want to let the fans down. They don't want to lose money. They're going to try and skirt the system and pass these concussion tests. And if you're a doctor now you're the one who's in hot water because this guy slipped through the cracks.
And I mean, there could be situations where you're not trying to skirt the system. You just got it wrong for whatever reason. So again, err on the side of caution. It doesn't look like right. The same thing with Cameron Brate on Sunday night. If it looks like it, then you might want to treat it like it is and just say, nope, you're not going to go back in the game. I saw what I saw. Let's run through more tests after the game. Rather be safe than sorry. Sacramento State football back at home this Saturday versus Northern Colorado, 6 p.m. at Hornet Stadium. Get your tickets at hornetsports.com. Again, it's hornetsports.com. Keegan Murray, once again, impressive. We'll get into that coming up next.
Cattles and Ramie. Headlines.
The list gets longer. We begin with the 49ers as they lose yet another player for an extended period of time due to an injury. Tackle Colton McKivitz, who's been diagnosed with the MCL sprain, will miss up to 2 months, according to head coach Kyle Shanahan. McKivitz is the third 49er to be diagnosed with the MCL sprain this season. On the other hand, some good news, according to head coach, safety Jimmy Ward and cornerback Jason Verrett. They both will return to practice for the first time all season, mañana, tomorrow. Also in the NFL, the Kenny Pickett era has begun in Pittsburgh. Pickett, who came in for relief for Mitch Trubisky, has been named the starting quarterback as of today for the Steelers. Pickett will kick off his career this Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. The A's play tonight against the Los Angeles Angels. It's game 161 for the A's. We will have all the action right here on Sactown Sports 1140, beginning at 5:40 with the pregame. Those are your headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. Now more of the Cattles and Ramie Show coming up now.
Trying to get you home after another long day and through the drive time afternoon traffic. Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports 1140.
All right, so we got these J Mar tickets we've got to give away. I want to do it on YouTube. Bill Maher. J Mar.
All Mars are the same.
J Mars, J Moore, Bill Maher. We got these Bill Maher tickets to give away. Jay.
I thought Jay Mars left his tickets in there. You're trying to
I've left it up to Ramie.
Yeah, you did. I forgot about that.
This is why I'm saying it on the air, so I could remind you to come up with something creative
I'll come up with
in the 5 o'clock hour
you.
to give these tickets away on YouTube.
All right. Should be a visual thing.
You know what?
Right?
Let's just do it next segment so the pressure's really tough.
It should be a visual thing. It should be a visual thing.
Yeah, let's do it. So we will give these tickets away on YouTube.
Okay.
Coming up next segment. So be prepared for that.
This is not a play thing.
YouTube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. We'll do that in a little while. I want to remind you, Sunday, October 16th, Kings Fan Fest. Doors open up at 2. Festivities kick off at 3. Reserve your tickets at kings.com.
I have an idea. You want me to do an on-air pitch?
Sure.
So we did the Snoop Dogg on Wheel of Fortune the other day.
We will get to Keegan solve the
puzzle. Can we put one of the puzzles up, and whoever solves the puzzle first wins the Bill Maher tickets?
Well, it might be if somebody watched it the other day, then they have.
Do we have a puzzle that we didn't use the other day, Verlad?
We
used all of them.
We used all the bullets.
Okay, that does give him an unfair advantage.
So that's all we had for Snoop.
Okay,
let's keep working on it. Let's workshop.
I'd like to solve the puzzle.
let's get to Keegan Murray.
Confident.
So Mike Brown spoke with Zach Harper in The Athletic for Zach's season preview, and Brown said in that article, he was quoted as saying that Keegan Murray might not start. Keegan might not start this season. And you and I talked about it at the time when we saw that comment. And then Brown over the weekend said that, look, the preseason lineups, we're going to change the lineups. We're not going to have the same starting lineup. We're going to mess around a little bit. And so last night, Ramie, as we got ready to watch preseason game number 1, it was rather obvious that one thing stood out amongst all things. Starting lineup for the Kings did not have Keegan Murray in it. It had Hazy Okpala. Your thoughts on Okpala starting?
What are we doing here? To what end? To what end is Okpala starting?
Come on, not a big Hazy Okpala fan.
What are we doing here? He's fine. He's fine. He can come off the bench. Fine. He can be in the rotation. But and it's preseason game number 1. But man, why? To what end? What purpose does this serve? At the end of the day, he played 21 minutes. Okpala played 10 minutes. So clearly he got the bulk of the playing time. But just if I was in the press scrum afterwards, I would have just said to Mike Brown, why? What's the thinking here? What purpose I don't understand it, Nick. I don't understand it. This guy was drafted because he's the most NBA ready. All signs point to this. They're in win now mode. How is Keegan Murray not being in the starting lineup? How does it serve any of these goals that we've talked about for the Sacramento Kings team and for Keegan Murray?
I want to be clear. Keegan Murray will be starting game 1 of this regular season. He should be starting game 1 of the regular season. I don't think Mike Brown should overthink this. Let me give you a couple of possible reasons why. Number one, humble pie for the rookie. Like right out of the gates. Again, I don't think that he should be. I don't think he should be sitting on the bench. You asked me why. I'm trying to give you some devil's advocate, some reasons. Okay, so humble pie would be one thing. Another possibility is that Coach Brown wanted to, in essence, I was talking to Frankie Carticelli about this, and don't forget Frankie covers the Kings, Sactownsports.com, and we were talking about the idea of protecting Keegan last night a little bit, like protecting him because it was LeBron. And, you wanted him to kind of sit there and watch for a little bit until he felt a little bit more comfortable. Then you can throw him in there. So maybe it was the head coach protecting him. Now, the only reason why you would not start Keegan Murray, and again, I'll say this so I don't get dragged. Keegan should start. Keegan is absolutely worthy of starting, and I think he will be starting game number 1 of this regular season. But basketball-wise, the argument that Coach Brown could make, if I was going to play devil's advocate, is that Okpala is seen as defense first, second, and third. Not so much offense, right? And so some people think he's got some potential offensively, but Okpala's in the NBA right now because he can defend. And so Coach Brown, knowing that De'Aaron Fox has been spotty with his defense, knowing that Domas is not a very good defender, maybe he would look at it and say, we need a defensive presence out there because Kevin Huerter is good. HB is okay. We need a guy who can cover up for some of the other dudes on the floor in that starting 5. Again, I think Keegan starts, but basketball-wise, maybe that's the devil's advocate position. I'm going to go defender first because the rest of the guys in the starting 5 are not necessarily great defenders. And when I go to the bench, Keegan come in, you got Davion Mitchell, you can mix and match, and Keegan's a good defender. You can make that work.
Yeah, that sounds, if he was a defensive liability, maybe, Nick.
Right.
You know what I mean? But as a rookie, he's already a decent defender at worst at the NBA level. And maybe the first case that you make, the first point that you make makes more sense to me than anything else, which is Mike Brown saying, "Yeah, you're going to have to earn it, kid." And maybe he's going to use what do they have, 3-4 preseason games? Maybe he's going to use the preseason to make him climb the ladder and make him earn that starting spot and show him nothing is given to you in the NBA. But I genuinely don't feel like Keegan Murray needs that. I don't think this is a guy
I agree with you.
that necessarily needs the humble pie serve for him to go, oh, yeah, I got to work for it. He shows up to work.
We've talked about his maturity over and over and over again.
Super professional and super unfazed by this next, I don't want to say unfazed by the next level of basketball. He'll have his growing pains, and the NBA will move faster, and there will be guys stronger than he's ever seen. But what's asked of you at the NBA level in terms of the professionalism, the work you have to put in, I don't think that's something you have to convince Keegan Murray of or let him know that he needs to earn it. This is a guy who came into the NBA having earned everything he's gotten to this point and knowing he has to earn whatever he's going to get.
Agreed with you. I just playing devil's advocate, those are the only things I could come up with. But even if you were concerned, if you had any concerns last night, should have, settled those down. And yes, preseason game, number 1, we understand it, disclaimer, caveat, but Keegan can only play the games that he can play right now. And we heard this in the Summer League. Well, hey, look, he was so good in the Summer League. He was the best rookie in the Summer League. Paolo Banchero was probably the second best rookie in the Summer League. The young man did what he was supposed to do in the Summer League, which was pretty much dominate the competition. And he's played, I think it's a total of 9 games as a King. In 8 out of the 9 games, he has been really good. And so from what you have at your fingertips, the guy can play, and he's ready to play right now. And last night there was the stretch where he had the alley-oop to Rashawn Holmes, which is a fantastic play. He hit that insane drifting towards the left in the corner on the fast break 3. That's an incredibly difficult shot to make. He made it with ease, and then he came up with the steal and the dunk finish. In that stretch, you sat back and said, and I tweeted this at Nick C Radio last night, Keegan's ready. Am I telling you he's going to be excellent every night? No, but he's ready. He's ready to play. He's ready to start. he was the guy in the draft we talked about leading up to that night as the most ready prospect in the draft. I think he has shown that through the first 9 games, and I believe he will start when the season starts in a couple of weeks. Here was Keegan in the postgame last night. Oh, nope. Keegan's soundbite was accidentally deleted. So, sorry, Keegan. We apologize to you. But
it's really been a learning experience for me. Just learning from the older guys, learning from Coach Brown, and just trying to learn as much as I can from them and try to implement on the floor. And that's what I'm trying to do right now.
The Undertaker gif right there. He sits up in the casket. He came back. He came back. I would say this, Ramie. Let's just be reasonable with our expectations.
For sure. Yeah, but
be excited, but be reasonable.
We talked about this in the preseason. Nothing seems too big for him.
Nothing.
And even when he's talking right there in that soundbite, not to put it, don't take this the wrong way. He almost sounds bored. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I know I'm going to have to work hard and there's going to be a process and Coach Brown and the rest of the staff is going to make me go through. He went up against LeBron James last night, man, growing up his favorite player. And you didn't see like the wide-eyed kid who just froze in the headlights. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It doesn't seem too big for him. And that's a big thing for anybody making that jump to the professional level in any sport.
Got a lot coming up. We've got, of course, the Bill Maher.
Yes, sir.
Remember that? Bill Maher ticket giveaway.
I got to come up with
for the YouTube people. And also an emotional future Hall of Famer speaks, a bathroom break, and a whole lot more with They Said What next.
It's Cattles. It's Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Folks, there's been some fumbles on the way to the big game, but he's been getting some help to get it done. Here's
The microphone. It's the good, bad, ugly, and funny from the postgame. They Said What on Cattles and Ramie.
All right, before we get to They Said What, which is going to be a very good segment today, we've got a bunch of great audio.
Yes, sir.
There it is. Microphone check, microphone checker. Is that the first? Is that the first time today?
Of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, first of the day.
You're usually good for 2. We've got 2 yesterday. We got 1 today.
No, only 1 yesterday.
No, it was 2. All right, so we have tickets to give away.
Yes, we do.
We have Bill Maher tickets. Bill is going to be performing at the Hard Rock Casino, Sacramento, February 25th of next year. So you have plenty of time to make sure you got the babysitter that night. February 25th of 2023, we're talking here. More information, visit SactownSports.com. So we figured we would do a YouTube contest today. So
Yes,
all
sir.
the people watching on YouTube, And if you're not watching on YouTube, we'll give you a chance right now to jump on YouTube, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Don't forget to give us the thumbs up. We need more likes, people. Give us the likes, give us the thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe. But we figured we would give one lucky YouTube viewer a chance to win these tickets today. So youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Ramie, it was your responsibility to come up with a way to give away these tickets to the fine people on YouTube. So what are we going to do?
There's a trivia question.
Bill
Maher related trivia question.
Bill Maher related trivia question.
That is going up on our YouTube page right now, youtube.com/Sactown Sports.
All right.
So there's watching to see the question, and then the first person to answer it correctly will win those tickets.
I like that.
Yes, sir.
So youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. We're going to put up a trivia question, and whoever answers that trivia question correctly,
I wish we could have done the Snoop Dogg thing.
Wins a pair of tickets. Yeah, that would have been fun. Wins a pair of tickets.
Solve the puzzle.
To check out Bill Maher, Hard Rock Casino, Sacramento, February 25th, 2023. So we'll give you a minute or so to jump on the YouTube channel and give yourself a chance to win those tickets to go see Bill Maher. Meanwhile, let's get to They Said What? And let's start with J.J. Watt. So I don't know how many people heard the story of Watt last week. He had AFib. And so he went in and got the ticker checked and tweaked up and fixed up a little bit. And then he decided, after having AFib just last week, in the middle of the week, he decided he was going to play on Sunday. And that's exactly what he did. And so, of course, he was asked about it by the media, the decision to play. And JJ got emotional.
For months, we've been looking at ultrasounds of our baby boy, and they're all extremely happy. And then, Thursday, we were looking at ultrasound of my heart. It was very tough. It's been a week. It's been a week, but happy to be here. Happy to yeah. Yeah, I did. I mean, it's been tough, you know. It was just weird. Just weird. I have a baby on the way.
Saved the game with that chip pass.
Yeah, the boys played good today. I don't want to take away from the great game. The boys played a great game.
Fantastic emotion, and it's obvious that this was a moment in Watt's life that it was a very difficult decision to make. And he made it. He went out there and he played, and he made a big play towards the tail end of the game. But shout out to the Hardo sports guy in the media who was like trying to get away from like when JJ's having a moment and he's like talking about, the impending birth of his child. And dude's like, hey, man, you had a huge tip pass, though, at the game, huh? You were there, though. It's like, man, let him have his moment. Like, let him be a human being. Dude was like, I'm going to make you feel better. You made a great play, JJ. It's like, what are we doing?
Maybe don't play, though. He said himself he's got a kid on the way. Maybe don't play.
Well, look, they weren't going to have him. They weren't going to allow him to go out there if it wasn't safe. They're not like, oh, yeah, just go out there. You're good. You might drop, but we'll deal with it when it happens.
Nick, I come from the great land of Wisconsin. In my previous radio chapter. And in Wisconsin, there are two camps of people when it comes to not just JJ, but the Watts as a whole. And there are those who they love them, and the Watts can do no wrong and say no wrong. And then there are those who think that everything the Watts do is look at me. Like, oh, he walked into the office and told his agent, we're signing this contract right now. Or posting maybe too many workout videos. I would bet you there are some people back in the state of Wisconsin that were watching that press conference and rolling their eyes at J.J. Watt and thinking that was a look at me moment.
That's awful. Like, I understand the perception. It's not just Wisconsin. When I was working in Boston, the morning show would be all over J.J. Watt about how he always found the camera and stuff. Look, I think the guy cares. I think he's done a lot of great things off of the field.
That you can't deny.
And I just think, give us – it's 2022, and this is what people do. Like, they will pick on somebody for something. They'll find something negative. This guy went out there after having AFib last week and decided to play for his football team and made a play. And I just – I think J.J. Watt loves the game. and he has to love the game because he's had a million different significant injuries, and he's come back from every single one of them, which tells you that he loves the game and he wants to continue to play the game because a number of guys would have tapped out in his situation. Geno Smith, an absolutely bananas game for the Seahawks on Sunday. Seahawks and Lions, it was like 150 to 135, the final score. And you would think Geno Smith, after completing almost 77% of his passes and throwing 2 touchdowns with 0 picks, he would be happy. But apparently, maybe not.
No, I can play better. Definitely not exceeding my expectations. I can play a lot better. Just playing better.
I can play a lot better. I have not exceeded my expectations.
Geno Smith feeling himself this season.
Oh, yeah.
Geno Smith
All
is
the
feeling
feels. All
some
the
Geno
feels.
Smith this season.
All the feels for Geno Smith.
Remember they wrote me off. I didn't write them back.
Yep.
Now he's not meeting expectations.
Didn't he trademark that? Isn't he coming out with like T-shirts?
Yes, he did. In Geno Smith's mind, Geno Smith is Tom Brady right now.
Yes.
I can tell you that. Geno Smith is the GOAT.
He's here. It's like, what? Expectations? Nah, you haven't seen it yet.
Did he hear me say I forgot he was in the league?
I got a lot more left.
Is that what happened?
Did he not hear Chris say he thought it was another Geno Smith?
Oh, that's a guy that's the same name, right?
The same Geno Smith?
Wow.
Did he see Rex Ryan say that he had a chin like a marshmallow on ESPN after week 1? All right, Baker Mayfield, another quarterback. Apparently, he was booed. The Panthers were booed. And Baker, he doesn't care much about the fans booing.
Obviously, I'm frustrated at the fact that we're 1-3. That's it though. We're 4 weeks into the year. We can sit here and let you guys pile on us, or we're going to come together as a locker room. That's exactly how we're going to handle it. I don't really care about the fact that our fans are booing or what's going on. We're going to figure it out, and when we win, it'll still be just us in the locker room, and that's really all I care about.
So tired of players not playing well and then being like, oh, yeah, well, the media piling on us. You guys coming after us. It's the job, man. If you're playing great, well, you say you play great. You play like trash. He played like trash on Sunday.
Some folks in the world of sports think that the media's job is to like prop them up and be some kind of support system, some kind of morale support system.
Nonsense.
You know what I mean? And that's not the case. That's not the relationship here. When you're bad, people are going to tell you you're bad.
Yep. And did he not learn from Justin Fields, who came out and said something about Bears fans and, oh, they don't work like us, and he got absolutely crushed for that on social media and publicly? Apparently, Baker doesn't pay attention, which might be a good thing. Doesn't pay attention to social media and maybe just the media overall, but he has to pay at least some attention about what they're writing about him and the team because he came out and said, no, it doesn't matter. How about DK Metcalf? This is fantastic. He had to take a cart to the
that is not what I thought you were about to say.
Yeah, to the tunnel. And he had to get himself to a bathroom pretty quickly. So he jumped on the cart. And here's DK with the media after the game.
Yeah, I was hurting. That's it. I had a little tummy ache. Had to get it taken care of. See, I didn't even ask for that. I was gonna jog off the field myself, and then Strick was like, "We got a cart for you," and I was like, "Hey, might as well."
Is this the longest place to go?
Yes, it was. Yeah. So when I was on the cart, I was thinking like, yeah, it was a good thing we had the cart on standby. Sir, I ain't have my wallet on me.
Did you tip?
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't even like taking the cart, but in that situation, I'll give myself a pass.
It was an unusually long journey.
Yes.
To the bathroom.
Yes.
Which is why they brought out the cart.
Yeah, he said it was a trek.
Wow.
It's quite the trek.
I didn't know that angle. I didn't know that little angle of the story, that little detail.
It's got to be rough. That's what DK felt like as he was trying to get to the bathroom and was like, oh, this is a long trip. And then somebody came by and saved him with the cart.
There have been times I've wished I had a cart, man. I think there have been times we all wished we had a cart.
Yeah.
To get us to the office a little bit quicker.
Or a scooter, or something that gets you to point A to point B.
Right.
Quickly.
And without moving too much. You know what I mean?
Movement's tough in that situation.
Sometimes you can't shuffle. The shuffle can't be short enough. You know what I mean?
Any little step to the left, the right.
Right. You don't know.
You don't want to bend over. You don't want to move the belly too much.
No.
You don't want any shaking of the belly.
Do not bend over. No.
Guys being dudes.
Guys, be it dudes. So every week it's a thing now. What they said, what? When we hear from Tyreek Hill.
He's the star of this.
Yeah, he is. Here was Tyreek on picking the Miami Dolphins over the Jets during the offseason when he knew he was about to get traded.
The Jets were the other team I was kind of vying to trade for you. How close was that to happening?
You know what? It was very close to happening, man. But it's just those state taxes, man. I realized, I had to make a grown-up decision.
Don't want to play in California.
Here I am in the great city of Miami. Great weather, great people. We're beautiful people, I feel like. So here I am.
Look, I appreciate the honesty here. But you can't then sit there and go, oh, the beautiful people and the weather. You just told us why you picked Miami. You
Straight
picked
cash, homie.
Yeah. Take care of y'all's chicken. Like that's why you picked Miami. He's like, oh, and then the weather's great, and everybody I've met here is a cherub. I love everybody
and
here in Miami.
Is the most accurate quarterback in football.
Yes, let's not forget about that.
Any chance he gets.
Yep. He's the greatest quarterback when it comes to accuracy, maybe in the history of the game.
I love Tyreek Hill. Talking to the media, though. We didn't get a lot of this in Kansas City. I'm liking it.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
No?
Not with his history. No, I would not say I love Tyreek.
I said talking to the media. Quotes.
Quotes-wise.
Yeah.
Quotes-wise. Everything else, not so much. Did we get a winner for our YouTube deal here? Did we put the question up?
I think you put the question out.
All right, we got to have you guys type the question. What happened?
Was I supposed to post a question?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say the question.
This operation failed.
We're supposed to put the question on YouTube.
Yeah.
We're supposed to put it up there. Okay. That way they have to be watching the YouTube.
All right.
This is like the Rams offense last night.
It's going up right now.
Great.
We're operating better than that.
All right, so if you were on YouTube and then left YouTube because we never put the question up, you can now jump back on YouTube and try to answer the question.
I don't know what I'm doing.
That was by design to hold that audience. They're sitting there waiting for the question.
Look
See
at
what
you.
we did? That was strategery.
YouTube.com. YouTube.com. Sactown Sports 1140. Answer the question correctly, and you will get a pair of tickets to go see Bill Maher, Hard Rock Casino, Sacramento. If you're the first person to answer it correctly. We're not going to give all the people who answer it correctly tickets. Not how this works. Sactownsports.com for more information about that show. And congratulations to the winner. Again, it's youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. How much should we put into that Niners win last night? Our answer's coming up next.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Divorce becomes a reality. You need a partner that you can count on. If you're a man in this situation, consider contacting
Local sports talk in the afternoon. Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
So I have a new mission in life. Oh, get Bruno Mars tickets.
Yeah, we just learned with the listening audience with that commercial.
I just heard that spot, and I was like, wait a minute, what? Kelly and I have been trying to get to go see Bruno Mars for years.
Really?
Yes.
Now he's right down the block.
It's one of the last shows that we've had on like the list that we want to go see as a couple. And yeah.
Well, what's
like
one of the shows you want to see not as a couple?
Well, like Rage Against the Machine. She would not.
Okay.
Yeah. She would not.
You would like to see Rage Against the Machine?
Yeah.
So Chris.
I'm sorry, Chris.
Don't do that to Chris.
Chris's tickets have been taken away from him like 10 times to see Rage.
2.5 years he's been holding on to those
Poor
tickets.
guy.
That's brutal.
Yeah,
I went through all stages of grief.
All
No, this isn't happening right now. This didn't happen.
So that is my new number one goal in life, is to get tickets to that show.
All right.
That would make Kelly the happiest person on the planet. I might be like in the good graces for at least a couple of weeks.
I mean, I'd go see Bruno Mars. I don't want to see him as bad as you seem to want to, but I'd go to that show.
Big fan.
Get 4 of those.
Big fan. And I heard
double date it. We'll double date it to the Bruno Mars show.
I heard from somebody that I'm friends with up in Boston, who's very, very difficult. Like, they are a very tough like evaluator.
Oh, okay.
Of
yeah, they're that guy.
Music,
like
concerts, food,
yeah.
everything. And this guy told me, present day James Brown, the show was out of control.
Wow.
Awesome. So
I go see that.
Thunder Valley. If anybody's listening from Thunder Valley, you got a little extra promotion there for you. No, we can't. I got to find out when those tickets go on sale, because my goodness, only like 4,500 seats or something in that place.
And he's a big draw. Those will go fast.
Oh, those will go fast.
If you get them, get 4 of them. Let's double.
Oh yeah.
I'll pay you back.
Should be super.
I'm good
easy.
for it.
Let's talk about the Niners last night. Did some work against the Rams, mostly dominant. Here was head coach Kyle Shanahan in the postgame.
I mean, I was real happy overall, obviously, with our whole team. It was a cool way to win. We knew it would be a battle. To keep them out of the end zone was great. I thought our special teams played well. It was really cool to see, because I thought we had a chance to run away with it, especially after Georgia's touchdown, and then for that to get returned. And then the next time down there, thinking we we're going to get that field goal and come up short on that. But then Huff getting that pick 6 got us right back at it. So it was cool to not play perfect, but to overcome a lot of things and have a good big victory.
So that was Shanahan, very happy about the win. Here was Sean McVay, not necessarily happy about the loss.
Yeah, I'm not going to make any excuses. We've got to play better. The things that we didn't do to execute, you don't take away any credit from the 49ers, Jordan. But a lot of it was just things that guys that we're counting on didn't do what they're supposed to do. And so clearly that makes me think that I've got to do a better job, and we got to do a better job as an offensive staff, providing clarity to our players for as many MAs as what occurred tonight. I thought our line battled. There was opportunities, that I think we're capable of making, and we didn't do it. And it's coaches and players in this together. We'll continue to stay connected and we'll move forward. And it's 4 games, but that's kind of where we're at.
Mark Schlereth will join us in less than 10 minutes. We'll certainly ask Mark about this game. But Ramie, when you watched last night and you saw that convincing victory from San Francisco, how much do you think that win means for this team right now?
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being just another week 4 game, 10 being a must-win week 4 game. I'm not going to put this at a 10, Nick, but it's a strong 6 or maybe even a 7. And not just the win, but the fashion in which they won, that it was that dominant against the defending Super Bowl champions. And then consider the alternative. Because I know that there's a tie every once in a while in the NFL, but
yes,
the 49ers are walking out of that game either 2-2 and at the bottom of the NFC West, or they're walking out of that game 3-1 and at the top of the NFC West. And with 2 easy games on the horizon, now a chance to go 4-2 and not just trying to get back to 500 with these 2 what look like layup gimme wins in the next 2 weeks. There is a world of difference between where the 49ers could be after that game yesterday and where the 49ers are. That was a huge win, and the way that they won it just makes it that much bigger of a win. I saw multiple power rankings where the 49ers jumped 6, 7, 8, 10 spots, and usually I'll look at that and I'll go, that's bait. You're just trying to stir up debate with your power rankings. I think it's legit in this case. I think that was a huge, huge win for the 49ers yesterday, and I don't think that's overstating it.
It was a good win. And I think your point about being, 2-2 versus 1-3 is it's somewhat of a different world. I don't know if I'd be too freaked out because of looking at this division. I don't know if anybody is going to run away with it, but here's why I think it was a win that meant something. Number one, you got a good bounce back by Jimmy Garoppolo, and you needed that good bounce back by Jimmy G. He was awful a couple of weeks ago. He had a chance to play against a team that he's played well against in the past. He has a level of comfort against them. And to see Jimmy give you a good outing, that was important for that team. There's no doubt. Give you a little bit more confidence in Garoppolo moving forward. The defense was terrific. Absolutely terrific. And again, they showed that they could get after any quarterback. Their pass rush numbers, their pressures last night, they were just embarrassingly good, especially Nick Bosa, who had 14 pressures. Ramie gave you the number earlier in the show. 14 pressures last night. Defense continues to play great football. Hufanga's been fantastic. There's no doubt about their second level at linebacker. You could argue best core in footbal. I know Al-Shair's out, but he'll eventually come back. So seeing the bounce back by Jimmy, seeing your defense continue to play terrific, it did give you some good feels. But I also look at LA and I say they're not that good. And I think people fall into this all the time because of what a team has done in recent history. They just kind of take it for granted that team will be really good again. That's not always the case in the NFL. And the Rams right now, they look like a team that's struggling. They're not necessarily great defensively. Offensively, they are a train wreck currently. Can they fix it? Maybe. Am I super confident they will? I am not. And I also think, the history. Last night,
that is true.
7th straight regular season win for Kyle Shanahan against the Rams. Point blank period, Shanahan's got McVay's number. And when you look at the NFC Championship game last year, they still should have won that game, but they didn't. But they have when you beat a team 7 times in a row in the regular season, you have their number. And we saw that again. But the main point above all is what I'll say. How much does the win mean last night? Well, by beating LA the way you did, looking at the rest of the NFC, who legitimately scares you? Like, Green Bay is not very good. I just saw them play on Sunday. Trust me, they're not very good. The Patriots almost beat the Packers with the third-string quarterback. They had to go into overtime. Now, can they get better? Sure. I'm saying right now, Green Bay doesn't scare you. Dallas. Look, Cooper Rush is 3-0. It's a great, fun story. I would not be afraid of the Cowboys. They would not scare me. The Eagles, interesting team, right, Ramie? We'll see them, again over the next few weeks. You look at it and you say, good team, undefeated.
And I pointed out yesterday,
they might bug you.
Favored to win the rest of their slate.
Yes.
In the 2022 season.
So I think San Francisco's a contender.
When it breaks, we have it first. Sactown Sports 1140.
Yes.
Breaking news.
Yes, my guy. I was going to call for it and finish my thought that San Francisco is a contender when you look at the rest of this NFC. Aaron Judge. We were just talking about this a few minutes ago. Was he going to get off 61? He did it.
There we go.
Aaron Judge hits number 62.
We have a new home run king.
Was it a bomb, guys? Have you seen it?
They're not showing a replay. I haven't seen it just yet.
All right, just go to
Twitter.
Twitter.
I can't escape Aaron Judge at bats. Now we can't find him.
All right, here you go. I got it. I got the.
Okay.
Oh my gosh!
Did he swat it like a fly, like he does?
Hold on.
Oh, there it is.
Not as deep as it looked off the bat, but it was about 390 to left. There are his parents hugging. Place going wild. So 62 home runs for Aaron Judge. So some breaking news for you here on Sactown Sports. Aaron Judge hits his 62nd home run of the season, new American League record. Roger Maris Jr. wants it to be the new record. That's it. End of story.
Am I going to spend my Tuesday evening debating with people of whether or not this is the new actual home run record tonight?
You don't have to.
I think I might.
I mean, if you choose that world,
I might.
Good luck to you.
You know what? You're right. It is the American League record for home runs.
No,
Congratulations,
he's the new home run king. He's baseball's home run king.
So,
congratulations to Aaron Judge.
History, no matter what, whether you agree with Ramie or not, it still is history, as Verlade points out. 62 home runs. So magical moment happens in Texas. Aaron Judge gets it done, and now he's just got to hit one more for me.
To do what?
On the record last week, I said he'd finish with 63.
You did, didn't
you?
you?
You
hit
did.
one more.
Oh,
Just give me one more, Judge. Just give me one more Judgy and blast, which is still terrible. Absolutely terrible saying. And from what's his name? Name escapes me. Play-by-play guy.
John Sterling?
Thank you, John Sterling. Doing it forever. I told you I erased his and Susan Waldman's name out of
From
my
your board op days.
out of my memory
Yeah.
because of the board op days. By the way, congratulations to our guy MC Calcium who came through with the
Hey.
Oh, actually no, it was Run DMG. I'm sorry. It was Run DMG who got the right answer. The trivia question for the pair of tickets to see Bill Maher: what is the first political show that Bill Maher hosted? And Run DMG jumped in and said politically incorrect. He is correct in saying that.
That's the one.
So congratulations to Run DMG for winning a pair of tickets to go see Bill Maher, Hard Rock Casino, Sacramento, February 25th of next year. Also want to remind you, check out Coastside Medical Clinic, dedicated to providing breakthrough remedies for men. What did Mark Schlereth think of the 49ers win last night? The man himself answers that in more than 90 seconds.
When it comes to the Kings, nobody has you covered like we do.
So you've been in Atlanta, a successful team. This team has not been there. They have high hopes. What do you see with the Kings this year?
There's been guys in here that have won at a high level in this league before and are just trying to come here and do the same. And I think we're all on the same page, know what we need to do. So just got to go out there and do it.
The best Kings talk, the flagship.
Hey, Sacramento.
All right, so we're waiting on Mark Schlereth. Chris tells us we're getting his voicemail.
APB out for Mark Schlereth.
Well, we were told that he was in New York, right?
Yeah. It's probably all the New Yorkers clogging up the lines talking about Aaron Judge.
Oh, that could be.
Could be it.
Could just be pandemonium in the streets.
Cell phone service down all over the city.
And there could be a riot in the streets and that Mark got caught up in.
I wouldn't worry about Mark Schlereth in the rough and tumble.
I don't think he'd have any problem taking care of himself.
I'd like to watch him pancake a few people that are out there having a good time.
I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think he'll be just fine. So as we wait for Mark, and maybe we won't get Mark, maybe we will. I want to tell you, Kings Fan Fest, October 16th, Golden One Center. Doors open at 2. Festivities kick off at 3. You can reserve your tickets at kings.com. They get the skills challenge with players, 3-on-3 National Cup tournament. You can meet Slamson. Ramie's fired up about that. He's gonna go see.
I'm legitimately gonna go out there.
Yeah,
and
gonna go meet up
for real.
Meet up with
Get that selfie.
I'm one of the best friends.
Get that Slamson selfie.
That Slamson selfie.
Yes,
is
sir.
Right. But a big night last night. Niners with a convincing win. And again, I think when you look at the rest of the NFC, they are contenders. I just don't see many teams. We talked about it before the season kicked off, Ramie, that the NFC was, to me, much thinner than the AFC when you talked about legitimate Super Bowl contenders, and I think the NFC is even thinner than I thought they would be. I mean, when you look at the Rams and how they look, the Cardinals are a mess. Cowboys doing fine. Cooper Rush, maybe that changes. You also have the Eagles you got to watch out for, but not many teams that are really jumping out at me that I would be afraid of, so to speak. And it does look like Mark is possibly going to line up here for us.
We do have Stink.
Well, it looks like he's called us. I don't know if it's we're going to do this or not, but
just one quick point while we're solidifying that.
Sure.
If the 49ers are 1-3, because I think right now you look at the 49ers and you go, yeah, that's a team that can go to the Super Bowl. If they're 1-3, instead of being a team that you talk about like that, I think we're looking at them at best as another pretender, or yeah, maybe they could get hot at the right time and get to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? That's the difference between where they could be and where they are after a week 4 matchup with the Rams. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's go to our friend Mark Schlereth, NFL Fox 104.3 The Fan. Joins us each and every Tuesday at this time. Mark, I know you're traveling, and we appreciate you making some time for us. First, just your thoughts on the domination, mostly, from the Niners last night over the Rams.
It didn't surprise me. It's like when it comes to regular season football, Stan Kroenke doesn't own the Rams. Kyle Shanahan does. So that's what they do. Physically, they're a outstanding football team. Defensively, they're incredible, and offensively, they're getting their stuff together. Once they run the ball, like here's the deal about going from Trey Lance to Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, Jimmy Garoppolo is a one-lane country road. Like that's what happened to their running game. And that's going to take a while to figure that out because Trey Lance is a 3-lane highway, right? You've got none of the running back runs. Then you've got all the pistol runs and the shotgun runs that he affects the edge. So it's all the zone read stuff that like nobody respects Jimmy Garoppolo when he does his zone read. They don't care about that stuff. So that's another aspect to Trey Lance. And then there's the pistol runs and the quarterback design runs. And obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo can't do that. So that's kind of the difference from the run game. So it's going to take a while to have that effect. But I will tell you this: Jimmy Garoppolo gives them he makes them a better football team right now. He makes them a more viable football team at the quarterback position than Trey Lance does. So I think the Niners I think it's what they did last night. That was an ass whooping, and that's kind of who they are right now. And obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo, it took him a little bit of time because he hasn't practiced. He didn't even have a playbook throughout training camp. So, it's going to take a little while to continue to hone that skill. But they were pretty special on the big plays last night, no question.
Mark, I was saying shortly before we brought you on, when you look at where the 49ers could be at 1-3 and what that would mean to 2-2 and the way that they won that game, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being just another week 4 game, 10 being a must-win week 4 game. I'm not going to put it at a 10, but I put it at a 7. Is that overstating things?
I don't think so. But I will tell you that it might be. I mean, I don't think it is, but it might be a little bit high because I think the division is in a state where, like, the winner of this division may win 10 games at the end of the year. Like I think Seattle is Seattle, right? Hey, they had a great game. It was against freaking Detroit. Let's calm down on Geno Smith is going to be the next star, right? Let's just pump our brakes on that, okay? And the Rams, if you look at the Rams are a power run football team disguised as a spread team, and forgot that you have to actually have people block to be a power run football team, right? And like people talk about, maybe Odell Beckham Jr. will come back. I hate to say this, but wide receiver is the most dependent position in football. 10 other guys have to do their job exceptionally well for you to be worth a crap. Like I don't understand why we let receivers become divas. Like why they have this overvalued sense of their importance to a football team. Look, if 10 other guys don't do their job really well, you can't sniff a football. It drives me crazy overvalued the opinion they have of themselves. So, like Odell Beckham Jr. is not going to fix the Rams unless he puts on 60 pounds and can block people. Like that's where he would have an effect.
Mark Schlereth with us. Mark, seeing the Tua Tagovailoa thing play out, what were your thoughts as a former player and obviously as a current analyst?
Well, I will tell you this the whole conversation about concussions pisses me off anyhow, and you don't have enough time on this program for me to go into depth of all the things I feel and the slanted coverage that that people that hate football, plant from a media standpoint. I understand the egregious nature of what's going on. I understand how important it is. Here's what I would tell you about Tua is that players want to play football. That's what we do. And, I went through 29 surgeries and, I knocked myself out in almost every game I ever played in. So it was a different time, and I understand that. I also understand that your brain has enough plasticity and enough connectivity, I believe, to overcome a lot of injuries, just like your body does. If you play football, you're going to have brain damage. It's the way it goes. We all know going into it. It's just like if you play football, you know what? You're going to have a lifelong arthritic changes in your joints. That's the way it works, right? When you use or overuse an aspect of your body, those are the reactions you have. It doesn't mean that you're doomed or that you're going to have a life of misery. That's not the case. There are plenty of guys that I played with, plenty of guys that have brain damage that are very functional, very successful in post careers. Okay, but here's the deal: from a medical standpoint, somebody has to be the freaking adult, and players want to play. That's what we do. Over the course of my career, I had 29 surgeries. I had a surgery on a Sunday night. I got out of the operating room at about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. I checked myself out of hospital at 11 o'clock the next morning, and I drove to the stadium and played in a Monday Night Football game.
Wow!
You tell me any doctor in America that would allow their son to do that, and I will tell you, there's none. But every NFL doctor allowed me to do it. So at some point, the medical profession actually has to be the medical profession. And they have to be the adults. They have to protect the players. And frankly, they shouldn't be employed by the team. They shouldn't be making money from the team because that is a conflict of interest. And you are going to give the major part of your attention to the people who are paying you the money. And that should not be the case. And it is the case in the National Football League. So, I hope that the Tua situation is a catalytic event that promotes change. I don't know that it will be, but I hope that it is.
Mark, thanks for the time. Fantastic answer. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good. Take care.
Thank you. There goes Mark Schlereth, NFL on Fox, 104.3 The Fan, and he happens to be in New York right now, as you could hear behind him. And I know he was out to dinner, so
I'm walking here.
A lot of
give
credit.
me a pie of cannoli.
A lot of wow, we're profiling New York pretty well right now.
Why is every New Yorker Italian?
A lot of
people do that impression.
A lot of credit to Mark for joining us there, and a fantastic answer about the Tua situation.
Absolutely.
Imagine getting surgery on Sunday night, released out of the hospital at 11 a.m., and then going to go play Monday Night Football. 29 operations. 29 operations. Sacramento State football back at home this Saturday versus Northern Colorado. Game time, 6 o'clock, Hornet Stadium. Get your tickets at hornetsports.com. Is there turmoil in the Kings front office, Ramie? We'll have the latest coming up next.
Live and past broadcasts of the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross and Cattles and Ramie. Interviews, podcasts, and more. They all live on the Sactown Sports 1140 app. Download the app now in the App Store and Google Play.
Hey, sports fans, the team at M&S Auto Group loves it when a repeat customer tells a friend about their great truck shopping experience with us. We appreciate that. And if you're a newcomer, welcome. M&S Auto Group has more than 300 super clean cars, trucks, and SUVs on site, and plenty of 4x4s and American muscle cars for people like you that work hard and play hard. Want a new ride? Come and get yours. MS Auto Group. MSAutogroup.com.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave, and listen, even though it may not feel like it sometimes, fall is officially here. The weather may be a little bit uncomfortable, too warm for me. 1 minute it's cool and raining. I love that. But the next day it's hot and sunny. What can make you comfortable inside, though, is knowing your AC and furnace will be working properly and efficiently for whatever temperature it is outside. Take advantage of American Energy's $49 AC or furnace 30-point tune-up today. Make sure you and your family are ready for the changing weather. 916-520-9990 or AmericanEnergyAir.com. Tell them Carmichael Dave sent you.
When it comes to the Kings, nobody has you covered like we do.
All right, so we're here with Rashawn Holmes. Definitely been in the gym like crazy than I ever been in my career. So I'm in the best shape that I've probably ever been in. And I've just been working on things they need me to work on, stretching the floor, ball handling, decision-making, things of that sort. And I'm really, really confident in the work I put in this summer.
The best Kings talk, the flagship.
Hey, Sacramento, it's Rashawn Holmes, and you listening to the home of the Sacramento Kings, Sactown Sports.
Your local sports leader. Sactown Sports. Headlines.
All right.
It is gone! Number 62 to set the new American League record. Aaron Judge hits his 62nd. All the Yankees out of the dugout to greet him. Just think of it. 3 Yankee right fielders. The Babe hitting 60 and 27. The Jolly Roger hitting 61 and 61. And now Aaron Judge hits his 62nd home run, the most home runs any American leaguer has hit in a single season. This is Judgment Day. Case closed.
John Sterling, courtesy of Yankees Radio Network. That is your Sactown
Get
Sports
it?
1140 headlines. I'm Jay Johnson. Now more of the Cattles Ramie Show coming up now.
Cattles and Ramie. Sactown Sports 1140.
Yeah, hate the Yankees. Congrats to the Judge, though.
See, I saw you tweet that.
Yeah.
And
hate him.
I'm a lifelong Cubs fan. I hate the Cardinals. It's not just sports hate. I hate the Cardinals.
Oh, I'm with you.
More than a lot of things on earth. I was not happy when I saw Albert Pujols hit 700. I didn't like seeing that. You're a better man than I guess, to respect your rivals to that degree. I saw Albert Pujols.
We already have a long history of your darkness.
I saw Albert Pujols hit 700. I was like, ew, gross. That's not fun.
I am not surprised that you did not celebrate somebody's unbelievable achievement.
No, screw that guy.
Look, congrats to him.
Hey, Lyndon's own.
Great season. But still hate the Yankees. Hope they don't win anything.
I love the vitriol, Nick. Stick with it.
And I think
Ramie, love it.
I want more of it.
Here's
You're not going far enough with your vitriol.
Well, I also am totally prepared for him to sign with the Red Sox this offseason. So I've got
okay, all right.
Got to play.
I see what you're doing.
I got to play the.
right.
Got to play the fence a little bit here. I got to help recruit him because he's paying attention to my Twitter. Out of everybody in the world, he's locked into Nick Cattles.
And I'll say this again. This is a question, not an accusation. So I'm not going to have to issue a Kellerman or Gottlieb-like apology.
I like this lead-in. It's got me a little concerned.
Major League Baseball was feeding Albert Pujols juice balls, right? That's all I'm saying. Right?
Was Aaron Judge not playing with juice balls?
I don't know. I'm just more trying to hate on Albert Pujols and the Cardinals.
What did Albert Pujols do to you?
He's from St. Louis.
He's from St. Louis. He's a Cardinal.
He's not from St. Louis.
You know what I mean.
He played in St. Louis.
He's from Kansas City.
He's a Cardinal.
Okay.
And they're all terrible.
St. Louis is an awful
place.
I drove through it once. I can't tell you anything about it.
I've never been there. I can tell you.
Keep it that way.
Nice. All right, let's get to the Kings. Let's get to the Kings. Is there turmoil in the Kings front office? The reason why I asked this question is, Ramie, I know you read this from John Hollinger.
Yeah.
So kind of an interesting note here from Hollinger. And it has to do with the relationship with Monte McNair and Wes Wilcox and who might actually be calling the shots. So here's what he wrote in The Athletic for his season preview of the Kings. Bigger picture, who is making the call here? The Kings hired McNair and Wilcox in a Bird-Jefferson pairing 2 years ago.
Did you get that reference?
No.
Okay.
Not very relatable for the NBA fan.
Thanks.
And league insiders still and he also says, which is better than a Burr-Hamilton pairing.
Hilarious.
Hollinger should keep his day job. League insiders still question who has the most say and whether it changes by the day, not to mention who will be in charge a year from now. So that really jumped out at me. I hadn't, guys, had you heard this before I got here? Because I haven't heard this since I've been here.
That was my reaction exactly.
I hadn't.
Okay.
That there is possibly some power struggle between McNair and Wilcox. So, look, we should point out that Hollinger is not a guy that just writes stuff. He worked in the NBA for years in the front office. So he does know people.
Yeah.
So this has to be out there somewhere in the ether. The first thing I would say is, because we don't know if this is true, old reps die hard. And when you look at this organization and you look at Vivek as an owner,
dysfunction.
A lot of people say, oh, it's been dysfunctional. A lot of people say that, he changes his mind often and he has given different people different levels of power at different times. So this might not be true. We have no idea. But it is, I think, totally believable because of the history, which I do think plays a role here. It's like the game of telephone in the NBA. And if somebody hears something that, it's at least plausible, they'll continue to kind of throw it out there. And so I don't know if it's true, but I think the reputation of the organization and the reputation of the ownership, as far as some of the things they've handled and some of the back and forth they've had with responsibilities there, leads to this kind of story popping up.
I also think that when there isn't just one guy and he is the face of that front office and he is the defined decision maker and shot caller, I think people start to wonder what John Hollinger is talking about here. And Nick, in this day and age, we're so fixated on there's one. We want to point at one thing or one person and say they're what's affecting it.
Right.
They're what's making the decisions. A good front office is collaborative. He brings up Mike Brown's influence in roster decisions and how much that will grow or change between now and a year from now or 2 years from now. I think a functioning, and you're right. I mean, the Kings have earned the reputation of dysfunction in the past and expecting more dysfunction in the future. The most functional franchises, not just in the NBA, across the world of professional sports, the most functioning franchises are a collaborative effort. Whoever's at the top, it trusts the people below them and delegates that stuff to them in terms of evaluation and roster building and trusts them and their critique and their feedback. And whoever's signing off, whether it's Monte McNair or anybody else, whoever's signing off is taking all of that into consideration when making that final decision.
Yes.
And I think when somebody does that in 2022, people look at it and go, who's in charge here? And it's
maybe so, maybe so. I mean? But I would like to know who makes the ultimate call. I have to believe it's Monte just because I don't believe Monte would be cool with the idea of having the GM title, but his inferior, so to speak, making decisions. Like, it's not Wes Wilcox's job. Wes's job is to weigh in, like you said, collaborate. I don't think Monty would be cool with just kind of kicking his feet up and saying, "Oh no, Wes can make the call." That would be pretty difficult to live with. If this is true, it's bad. Because, indecision stunts any front office and in our franchise. When you have some turmoil like this, you don't really know who's calling the shots and why they're calling the shots. People within the organization that are below Monty McNair would not know who to kind of go to and ask the correct questions to. And this would just, again, kind of breed drama and things that you don't need. So I hope it's not true. I would believe that it's not true. I would believe that Monty has pride in what he does, and he's the GM, and he's making these decisions. He's making the final call. He's the one that brought in Mike Brown. I would hope that is the case.
I got an explanation for the Burr-Jefferson analogy, which in this scenario that I'll endorse, I can. Burr and Jefferson, it was a deadlock in the 1800 election, so Jefferson was president. Burr was vice president. So what he's saying here is both guys were in the running for the job. It was a deadlock, so they tied them together and gave them the two jobs, is what he's saying, is how this played out.
Thanks to Chris. Thanks to JJ. Great job as always. Fantastic research, Ramie. Thanks to you, buddy. We're back tomorrow. Last A's Day game, and we're done with it. But we're on tomorrow. We'll catch up then. Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports.